Hello everyone. So, hope you are doing good and things are going fine. So, you are enjoying your prelims preparation. Can we say that? So, certainly the challenge, the main time going on for your prelims, and for some people, or I guess for most people, it will be like do or die, especially those who may be having, let's say, limited attempts left, this you can say. So let's take that polity section. And as we have been telling that in polity you should do, if you want to do better, or if you think that you have done better, so that better means that 8 questions you should do correct, not less than that. And if you do 10 correct, even 13 correct, it's the 13 question that we have given correct. So still it is outstanding, but minimum 8 questions should do correct. Some questions we are giving you for your brainstorming, because those questions options are very close, and they depend on your overall understanding of polity paper. So brainstorming is also needed, so that you need to improve yourself and go into all those thinking process. So let's take that question 11. So the motivation to give this question is related to, that the mayor's controversy, mayor election controversy related to Chandigarh. So on the basis of that, we try to go into details of the elections and other things related to mayor. Now let's see the way sentences have been constructed. So you should know that you have to find that number of, let's say that this correct. The number of correct, let's say that statements in this. What we have written is that they don't play any role in mayor selection. We have not written that they cast their vote or they have the role in elections, let's say that they are electors. That we have not written. Let's say that what we have written, don't play any role. So that it means, let's say that they may be playing some direct or indirect role. And because of that, this statement will be, let's say, incorrect. Returning officers, then we have written all municipal corporations. So you should know that in case of Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, returning officers are appointed by Union Election Commission and State Election Commission respectively. But in case of municipal elections, you know that returning officers are not appointed by State Election Commission in all cases. Rather it is done by, let's say if you take Chandigarh example, in case of Chandigarh, first a divisional commissioner is nominated by the members, and then divisional commissioner nominate one such member of the council as returning officer. It means that a person who is nominated by councillors, and that person nominates one, let's say, member of the council as returning officer, and that the member who is appointed as returning officer should not be contesting mayor's election. That is what in case of Chandigarh. It shows that state election commissions do not necessarily appoint returning officers. Hence, let's say that this you can say that returning officers to conduct mayor appointed by state in all municipal. So since it is written all municipal corporation, so this is not also correct. Then it says generally mayors work as presiding officers of the municipal council. So you should know that we have mayor in council system. Mayor in council. Our urban local bodies model is considered as mayor in council. Mayor in council means that mayor will be honorary, let's say that head of council, means he would be working like a speaker, let's say the way ex officio chairperson, vice president. Similarly, mayor is also let's say कि in council, he is presiding officer of the council in general, although in some cases it may not be. Where we have a directly elected executive mayor, this. So it is mayor in council, then there is another model called basically D model. D model is called directly elected executive mayor. So when mayor is directly elected and so then it becomes a presidential system. In that presidential system, so the mayor cannot work as council speaker and at the same time executive head of the corporation. So in that case, there can be a different practice. But generally, most of the states have mayor in council plan, and because of that, mayor works as, that is how we have written generally. The generally means ki mayor works as like this, presiding officer, and hence it is a correct statement. So it was not correct, it was not correct, it is correct, this. Then, 74th Amendment Act, it does not decide indirectly, rather these things left to the states. 74th Amendment Act has left how the chairperson of a corporation should be elected to the states, and therefore, let's say it is also not correct. It means, let's say, only one option, option A is correct in this. And that is how, let's say, the answer we can say this in 11th, option A. Only one, this. I guess it is clear. Then 12. Which one of the following is not correct? Difference, let's say that. It is related to emergency provision. So it is related to emergency provision, let's say. So emergency related points, let's say. The invoking of emergency requires approval by both houses of parliament with a special majority. So it is correct. The question is saying not correct. It is correct. A resolution of disapproval by simple majority, yes, you know that it is also correct. Right. Then let's say president is empowered to revoke proclamation on his own. This is what we have written, on his own. Because of that, it becomes incorrect. Because before 44th Amendment Act, this was the provision that president was empowered to revoke emergency anytime on his own. But after 44th Amendment, that revocation should be backed by a parliament resolution. That is how, let's say, that it is incorrect and it is correct. So in this 12th option should be C. This C will be the option, correct option for this question. Then let's say 13, let's say this is the question which demands brainstorming. So this largely people may have gone into, they may have gone into this C and let's say B. Now, some people, those who may not have studied properly, so they may go by A also, separation of powers, they may presume. But you know that it is saying most popular, let's say, popular for the promotion of. So, idea of separation of power is popular for the promotion of, it is not federal polity. Because for federal polity, we say it is division of power. Division of powers, this you can say. So this way, let's say, rule of law is not, let's say, the rule of law is more for equality, let's say that. It is linked to the equality aspect, you can say. Independence of judiciary is one such, let's say that. It is one such, not the main. Basically, the key option, correct option is B, this. This constitutionalism. Constitutionalism basically means, let's say that, it means limited government. Limited government is possible when, let's say that, we have separation of power. Separation of powers. So it demands, let's say, that knowledge. If you see that separation of power, the idea was given by Montesquieu, you know that. So this idea, so Montesquieu was the philosopher who gave the idea of separation of power. That influenced US Constitution, and US adopted a written constitution. Why it adopted a written constitution? And US was the first country to go for adoption of almost absolute level of Montesquieuan philosophy of separation of powers. Why? Because US did not want to give any one organ absolute power, since it was a British colony. Therefore, it experienced absolutism under British colony. Hence, when it got independence, it ensured that there was separation of powers, so that no organ exercised absolute power. So, absolute power is opposite to limited government. This. And limited government means constitutionalism, which came from US written constitution. US written constitution gave formal beginning of constitutionalism in modern society. This. So constitutionalism is opposite of absolutism, and absolutism is eliminated by adoption of separation of powers among the three organs of the state. That's why we will try to link separation of powers with constitutionalism rather than federal polity, because it has nothing to do with federal polity, you know. Federal polity is division of power, that is hierarchy. Among the, means within the government, there is division of power. So that we can consider. And rule of law is also another close answer, but it is more in the context of equality, that people should get equal rights. There should be equality. In the eyes of law, everyone should be equal. Its focus is different. But separation of powers, if you go as per the background of this, the way it has been adopted as per this, that's why we have written polity. In polity, let's say that, we have not confined this question just only to Indian polity. So that's why constitutionalism is coming more close to separation of powers rather than rule of law, although independence of judiciary is also an important feature of constitutionalism. And that is how we can say this. That is what the brain is storming. And yes, certainly some people may not be satisfied by this answer. They may think about rule of law. But we have to go into the background of all these things. You should know that the rule of law was given by A.V. Dicey in the context of UK. You know that UK did not have a written constitution. UK did not have separation of power legacy. You should know that UK lacks separation of power, but it does have rule of law. The rule of law, there can be without separation of powers. That is how separation of powers is needed for elimination of absolutism, and opposite of absolutism is constitutionalism. And this is how we are trying to link, and that is how this question. So answer B, this is how for this 13th question, 14th. So let's say that it is a bit simple question. So in this, people, let's say first option is, let's say it is the guarantor of fundamental right. Yes, it is related to Indian judiciary. We have written as per constitution. So as per constitution, let's say it is specified, you have to say that. As per Indian constitution, then let's say guarantor of fundamental rights, it is correct. It has power to strike down, let's say that, yes, it can declare any law, ultra vires, this is how we say that. So it is also correct. Now, it upholds supremacy of constitution, it is also correct. Yes, because constitution is supreme. How it upholds supremacy of constitution? Because judiciary has to take action as per constitution. We have constitutional supremacy against judicial supremacy of US and parliamentary supremacy of UK. So in that case, let's say, it upholds by how? By striking this law. Like basic structure, you can say even let's say Article 13. So any law which contravenes this part, the part 3, the Supreme Court can declare that law null and void. So by this, that is how, Supreme Court is the guardian of the Constitution. So that way it is correct, it is correct, it is correct. So obviously, this is how the answer. So you should know that Indian Constitution does not give explicit suo motu power to Supreme Court. Why we do, it does not get? So we have also procedure established by law. So we have procedure established by law. As per article, let's say this is how come, Article 21. We don't have due process of law. In fact, US Constitution gives explicit suo motu power to US Supreme Court. Why? Because US Supreme Court is not written in detail, it does not have detailed enumeration, and therefore it is popularly said what is US Constitution is said by US Supreme Court. So, US Supreme Court has implied powers to explain the provisions of the Constitution. And that implied power gives US Supreme Court power of suo motu, let's say. We can say in a way. A due process also. Due process is the characteristics of US Constitution. So that way, but Indian Constitution lacks suo motu. Although Supreme Court through judicial activism, PIA, let's say that, cases, so it has, let's say, over 50 cases so far we can say, where it has taken suo motu cognizance. In explanation it is given, you can read that. So it does take into consideration, like say Bandhuva Mukti Morcha, a letter written to Supreme Court, that becomes newspaper publication, that becomes. But these are very rare cases where it initiates or intervenes legally, constitutionally. Indian judiciary lacks suo motu powers. Yes, that's why option C will be considered in this. So which one of the following is not an important feature? Let's say this. It is C. Then we have tried to go by random, let's say, randomness of the question. So randomness in the sense ki range, let's say, this and that, out of box type of questions. So although already once UPSC has asked this question, you should also know this. Now, social audit. The social audit, basically you know that. This we have to understand. So those who have studied social audit, they may be knowing, let's say social. The social itself means people. This you should know that. So this way people, let's say social means people. So that is how correct. This. Now people will make participation. People means participation. It is correct. Now audit, you know that audit. Audit Hindi meaning, or let's say audit का literal meaning क्या होता है? Hearing. Audit, audible. तो audit means a hearing होता है. तो hearing, audit, this is how you can say that. The hearing and people hearing, so that is how public hearing, it is also correct. This, in fact, Jan Sunwai, you know that. Social audit started with Jan Sunwai in 1994 by MKSS. This, so because of that also, let's say it will be. So if you eliminate, go by elimination. So first is eliminated, C is eliminated, D is eliminated. So correct answer will be this. This means social audit does not mean statutory audit. This is how you can say that. It does not mean statutory audit. Why it does not mean statutory audit? Because statutory audit, why we say it, we have to know that. Largely, let's say CAG in different countries. So CAG in different countries gets power by law. to carry out audit. Like all may not have constitution like say UK. So therefore it gets power even if in our constitution, US constitution, it may be mentioned about CAG, but powers details, let's say details of its powers we get or it gets from a particular law. Like we have CAG, duties, power and conditions of services act 1971. In this, different types of audits have been defined, and because of this it becomes a statutory audit. The statutory audit is nothing but CAG audit. The statutory audit is linked to CAG audit, and because of that, let's say for 15th question, option will be, let's say B, and that is how it should have been answered. Then again it is, we have been trying to make the things clear, concepts clear. So many people may have clear concept, but those who do not have clear concept, so we have brought a trap. So largely people will go by justice, but option is this, correct option is this. Rule of law, as I was explaining that, it is linked to, given by evidence. All the three provisions will find that the rule of law. So everyone is equal in the eyes of law. This you can say. Absence of arbitrary application of law, you can say. And primacy of individual rights. So those things give, let's say that. And that is how in our constitution also, Article 14. So Article 14 also imbibes, let's say, rule of law or equality. This is how it has been linked that way. So it is not related directly to this. That we can say that. That is how option D will be correct. This. Now again another, let's say that random question we have given, although it is related to disaster management, but we just have given out of box type, you can say, a random question, you can say. So to test your knowledge in different different topics you can consider. So it talks, let's say, those who have knowledge about Disaster Management Act, you may have studied. You should know that nowadays prelims paper, so it demands that you should have knowledge in mains examination type syllabus, because those syllabus topics, they get reflection in prelims indirectly, and gradually that incidence has increased, let's say, number of questions which can be derived from main syllabus and made prelims oriented, that number of question has increased. So this is what we can say that. So if you take Disaster Management Act itself, it deals with definition part. It does define, let's say that, it does define. So this is how. So Disaster Management Act defines what is disasters. It is correct. Yes, Disaster Management Act, let's say, it lays, let's say, does not deal with, it deals with you should lay down guidelines. Right. It does have provision for National Disaster Management Authority, and then let's say it should lay down guidelines related to policy, related to plan. That way also it will be correct. Now, funding patterns, this is something, let's say, how funds will be, let's say, distributed. So since it deals with, let's say, National Disaster Management Authority, State Disaster Management Authority, and let's say Union, states, but it does not define, it does not categorize disasters of different levels, let's say that. It does not categorize, and how each category of disasters should be funded, what should be the share of union, share of states, that way, let's say that. So these things are decided by, let's say, Finance Commission decides time to time. At the same time, let's say, government can have its own executive committee. So executive committee or any such special committee government may set up, and that way it is decided. So the law, it is also a flaw of National Disaster Management Act, you should know that it does not deal with the financial aspect, which is one such weakness. And urban disaster, it deals with all types of disaster, let's say. So this we can say that it deals with all types of disasters. Urban, rural, that you can say, and all, let's say, categories of disasters you can say. So that is what, let's get this question. Then this right to property related question. So yes, we have tried to make it a bit complex question. And since it is today we are giving online, so we do not have students in offline to know their response, whether they have done correct or they have done incorrect. So let's say that since it is right to property, so before that we had under Article 19, let's say that's this, and then we have article, let's say that this. So we had this, let's say, right to property. So it was both, let's say that it was justiciable also, you can consider, and it was fundamental right before 44th Amendment Act. Before 44th Amendment Act, right to property was both justiciable right and also fundamental right. Fundamental right, so it means justiciable. Now it has been changed. Then the question is whether it is legal and constitutional right. Now first you have to see whether it is a legal right. Generally, let's say once anything is not a fundamental right, and then it is mentioned elsewhere in the Constitution, so that also we say as legal right, because that demands, let's say, a law, authority of law to give that right. Yes. Like say we have Article 300A, which says that right to property of citizens cannot be withdrawn except authority of law. This. Except authority of law. It means that you should have a law which should decide land acquisition, it should decide compensation, it should deny compensation, whatever. So that is how authority of law. So because of that, it becomes legal. When you have to enact these laws, it becomes legal. And since, let's say, it is mentioned in this article, it gives recognition as constitutional right. All those rights which are not part of fundamental rights but mentioned elsewhere, they will be considered as constitutional right. And since those rights can be given to citizens through a statute or a law, that's why we say them as, let's say that, also legal right. But at the same time, you should know that all constitutional rights can be legal rights, but all legal rights may not necessarily be constitutional right. Like say RTI, Right to Information Act. So Right to Information Act is a legal right. Nowhere in the Constitution there is any provision like this 300A or any provision where we have inserted Right to Information Act. Rather, it is implicit fundamental right as per Supreme Court interpretation. Right. So therefore, as per Right to Information Act 2005, it is a legal right. Now, it is a recognized fundamental right. This you can say. It is not a fundamental right per se, rather a presumed fundamental right, implicit fundamental right. That way we have to see. So that's why let's say that if it has to become explicit fundamental right, then you should know that Right to Education Act. So for that 86th Amendment was done and Article 21A was added. So that way we have to see, and that is how you have to understand. So in that way, let's say that it is correct, it is legal right also, authority of law needed, it is constitutional right also. Now when it is a legal or constitutional right, so its remedy is available, so then it will be available as per Article 226 by High Court, you know that. So High Court has wide writ jurisdiction, you know that, vis-a-vis Supreme Court. Supreme Court can have only exercise of writ in case of violation of fundamental rights. And it can be exercising on the basis of violation of other rights. Other rights we say as a legal right, constitutional right. So it remedy. So when its remedy is available, it means justiciability has not been completely discontinued. When remedy is available under this, it means this is how its justiciability has not been done fully, let's say that. That has not been fully done away with. So yes, it has not been fully done away with. It can be done by high courts. The high courts can, let's say, justify means enforce if citizens go to high courts, not to Supreme Court. This, and that is how it will be also correct. Now, even an executive order can deny right to. It is not because authority of law. It can be denied only by authority of law, but hence it is incorrect. So we will have 3, 1, 2, 3. So this C option. This and that way, this question we can consider. Now, consider the following, let's say, statement related to tribunals. Let's say now we have asked question related to tribunals. You should know that. So they are also known as quasi-judicial body. Correct. The tribunals are known as quasi-judicial body. It is correct. They have power of civil suit. That is also correct. They are expected to follow civil procedure. No. They are expected to follow natural justice. Rather, they are not expected to follow civil procedure code. That's why they have been created for flexibility and speedy adjudication. This we have to know. So they are expected to follow natural justice, not civil procedure code. And they can have, yes, they can have contempt powers like high courts. You know that, like National Green Tribunal and let's say National Administrative Tribunal, let's say, right. We say that Administrative Tribunal Act. We have an Administrative Tribunal Act 1985 which creates Central Administrative Tribunal. The Central Administrative Tribunal also has contempt power. Not all may, but they can get also contempt power. You know that contempt power can be given by Parliament, means by a law, and that is how you will find this statement. So in a way, let's say that this is incorrect. They may have contempt power. Yes, it is correct. So there are 3 options less. So the C again here also in this case, C will be answer to this. And then let's say that this question, simple question, one just we have asked factual aspect based on this. Cabinet committees, they are executive body, not let's say constitutional, not constitutional, constitutional, not constitutional. It is created by Law Commission Act. It is created by an act. It is created by article, let's say that 243 ZG. Under that it is created. Public Account Committee created under rules of the House. And this is also created under Business Allocation Rules 1961. So that way, let's say the only option C, let's say, so this will be the correct answer. Yes. Then we have tried to, let's say that ask a question, Parliament has limited sovereignty. Yes, it is correct that Parliament, we do not have complete sovereignty. So since we do not have complete sovereignty, it is correct statement. But the second statement, if you can apply by first, Parliament can expend its own amending powers. Right. Parliament can expend its own amending powers of the Constitution. So it is not correct. This you should know that. So it is not correct. Why? Because when it has limited sovereignty, so how it can expend its power? So that was done in Keshwanand Bharati case, that basic structure doctrine. The Keshwanand Bharati case, it was told that by the Supreme Court, it was stated that it cannot expend its own power of amendment. It is bound by basic structure doctrine and it has only limited amending powers. It means this is incorrect, this is correct. We will go by this option. Yes. We try to have one statement. So both statements are correct, you know that, but it is not explanation. 3-tier structure is not, because we did not have that time three-tier structure to make our government responsible government. The idea of responsible government was based on parliamentary democracy, not the three-tier structure. Hence, both are correct statement, but B is not, second is not, let's say that key reason for first statement. That is how it is. Then let's say again it is a bit random question, just we are trying to have different types of questions where we cannot think. UPSC generally, you know that the where you cannot think, we have to think and then bring those questions. So if you say office of profit, let's say, it has not been defined. That is the weakness in the law, you know. The law does not define what is office of profit, or constitution does not define what is office of profit. This, so not correct. It is not correct, let's say that. So it has not been defined in the constitution, yes. This you can say. Its definition has been given by Supreme Court, yes, it is also correct. In 1964, it gave definition. And the disqualification related to office of profit are decided by speaker. No, it is not decided by a speaker. Rather, it is decided by President of India. The President of India decides on the advice of Election Commission of India. This. So, not correct. So, this is C option. Then its regulation is done by statute. Yes, there is Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act. The Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act is also known as Office of Profit Law. So, it is the correct statement. So, A correct, B correct, C incorrect, D correct. That way we can see. So, these are the, let's say that questions, I guess. That is how from polity section questions. Hope the explanations will help you in brainstorming, finding out your weaknesses, strength, improving yourself, and learning from this where you are, let's say that actually lacking, where you are when you fail to read the sentence or statements properly, so whether your problem lies there, or where problem lies in lack of clarity, or whether problem lies in decision making, let's say, when you select the options. So let's see, and I guess you will be doing better, improving, and also let's say all the best for your next Panchsutra 3.
Hello everyone, so this is Panchsutra Test-2 discussion, and my name is Lakshmikant, and I will be discussing the questions from Geography and Environment section. So as you have solved this question paper, and the first 10 MCQs were the Geography MCQs, now this time we have changed the pattern of asking Geography MCQs, and largely you can see the concept based questions were asked, and those having geography as a, let's say, strong concept based base or foundation, for them they might have found these questions very easy. Also, some questions from the places in news were covered in the current affairs part, so they will be discussed by the other faculty as a part of current affairs. Okay, so without any delay, let's start with the first question. But before that, let me announce here that PT, let's say, sorry, pardon me. You can see here the recent PT24 marathon classes were conducted, and the recorded lectures are available for those who want the last minute revision. So, आपका 8 sessions में for let's say each session of 9 hours, one subject per subject we can say, and that will be covered here including current affairs. So, you can revise it in a, your doubts may be solved, most important topics which things are to be revised as the last minute revision, that those things will be covered here. So you can join this course and see the recorded videos also. Fine. Now the first MCQ. Yes, again I was telling you that how concept based questions that UPSC is asking is as a part of statement 1 and statement 2 type of question, right? So what is the statement 1? Enclosed seas in the low latitude record relatively higher temperatures than the open seas. Now when we learn about the oceanography, we also learn about the temperature and salinity distribution in the ocean. ठीक है, NCERT 11th standard NCERT physical geography. So there in oceanography you will learn this topic. Enclosed seas in the low latitude record relatively higher temperature than the open seas. This is true. Why? You can take the example like Mediterranean Sea is there. or we can take example of Bay of Bengal. So these seas or Red Sea, they experience, we can say, considerably warmer temperatures as they are enclosed sea. Now, what is the reason behind this? Let's understand that, and then we'll see the set whether it is explaining that reason. Now, let's talk about the reason here. Enclosed seas matlab kya hai? The land is, we can say, covering or bordering that sea from most of the area, or we can say most of the sides, and because of, let's say, exchange of heat that happened between land and ocean, exchange of heat. Why? Because land is heating quickly as compared to ocean water, and that heat is immediately transferred to ocean water, and that's why we can say that there are higher temperatures in the enclosed seas. This is the reason. Look at the statements 2. Enclosed seas in the lower latitudes experience more evaporation. Now, is it the reason, or is it the explanation, or we can say it is a correct statement independently? Yes, the second statement is independently correct. It is not explaining the statement 1. Why? Because it is the consequence. It experience more evaporation. Why? Because of higher temperatures. हम ऐसा बोल सकते हैं कि ये अगर उल्टा होता कि स्टेटमेंट 1 यहाँ पर होता, स्टेटमेंट 2 यहाँ पर होता, then A would have been answer, but the answer here is B, because statement 2 is not explaining the statement 1. Rather, statement 2 is the result of statement 1, we can say, and as a result of more evaporation, the enclosed seas experiences more salinity in the lower latitude. ऐसे भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है आपको सैलिनिटी के ऊपर. ओके, सो बी इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर. सो ट्राई टू हैव द कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी, स्पेशली क्लाइमेटोलॉजी एंड ओशनोग्राफी. अगेन the similar framing, statement 1, statement 2, andesitic lava and basic lava. Yes, so or basaltic lava. When we learn about the volcanism, the types of lava, so different types of lava like andesitic is there, basaltic is there, या फिर acidic and basic lava जिसको हम बोलते हैं, rhyolitic lava is also there. Now, what is the difference? Major difference here about the andesitic lava is in color and other properties. We can say andesitic lava is light in color, while basaltic lava is dark in color. One can use the logic also, the basaltic rocks from which the black cotton soil in Deccan region of India. So we can consider from that कि ये black color का होगा, color का होगा. This is correct statement, we can say. But this color is prominently due to the certain elements or composition of this lava, and that is silica. The andesitic lava has more silica content than the basaltic lava. Basaltic lava is having less silica content. So this is correct and the correct explanation of statement 1. So hence the answer would be A here. The other properties, you know that andesitic lava is more viscous. It is more viscous and less fluid. And that's why you can see that such lava explodes with loud noise. ठीक है, loud explosion होता है, and we can say that such kind of lava can be seen in which type of volcanoes? Yes, so composite volcano is there, caldera is there. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पर हम देखते हैं कि ऐसे loud noise के साथ andesitic lava comes out, while basaltic lava is highly fluid, and that's why it flows to the longer distances before getting solidified. Like for example, shield volcano or flood lava basalt province. ठीक है, flood basalt province. So all these are types of volcanoes from where the basaltic lava is released. So A is the correct answer here. Fine. Now let's talk about next question. Yes. Again, the geomagnetism aspect. See why we are asking this one step ahead, because UPSC has asked in 2022 that question related to solar storms or geomagnetic storms. So that means somehow they are entering into geomagnetism as a part of geography syllabus, although it is not covered in NCERT, but many times, yes, most of the reference books you will see that, and even in the classrooms we also teach geomagnetism as a part of foundation batch. So yes, today or tomorrow they are going to cover this aspect because it has some applications like magnetic declination. There are two concepts, one is magnetic declination and one is magnetic inclination, जिसको हम dip angle बोलते हैं, ठीक है. So magnetic declination is the angle between geomagnetic north pole and ये tricky aspect है यहाँ पर आपको समझना है. It's not the geomagnetic, rather it is the magnetic pole, magnetic north pole and geographic north pole. So this is incorrect. So what is the difference between geomagnetic and magnetic? See, the basic difference here is that the geomagnetic poles are those poles simply when the imaginary compass is kept at the center of the earth, the axis which is passing through it, when it intersects on the earth's surface, that they are basically geomagnetic poles. Okay, so this is incorrect, and the angle between geomagnetic pole and geographic north pole is magnetic inclination, as we can say that is magnetic inclination. So this is incorrect. Now the ships using compass for navigation need to account for magnetic declination so that they reach their intended destination. This is the application of magnetic declination. That is true. Why? Because the ships using compass, the compass is showing the north pole or the north direction because this compass is attracting, or the needle is attracting the north pole of earth's geomagnetic pole, या फिर north pole जो हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है. But that is not the geographic north pole, no, that is magnetic north pole, and that's why we want to go to the geographic location and not the magnetic location, we can say, on the earth's surface. And that's why this angle needs to be accounted by the ships in its navigation. So second statement is correct here. B is the correct answer. ठीक है? All right. Moving on. Yes. Again, every year UPSC asks one question related to rivers and mapping aspect. So how many of the above are the tributaries of Yamuna river? Yes. Major river systems in India and its tributaries, right bank, left bank tributaries, ये सारा तैयार करके रखना है. Now look at the rivers mentioned. Some of them were also in news, like Ken Betwa link के लिए ये Betwa river news में रहता है. Kuno National Park and the cheetah reintroduction project, it was in news. ठीक है. Chambal, many times it is in news. So you should be let's say doing this as a part of basic static atlas reading part. Now about the tributaries of Yamuna, we know Chambal is the tributary, Betwa is the tributary, and we can say Sindh is the tributary. But Kali, Sindh and Kuno, they are tributaries of Chambal. They are the tributaries of Chambal. Okay. Along with that, Banas is one of the major tributaries of Chambal river. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पर देखिए दो रिवर जो है वो ट्रिब्यूटरीज नहीं है, तीन है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आंसर वुड बी बी हियर. ओके, सो इमीडिएटली सी एट द atlas, look at the atlas and try to fix that in your mind, the tributaries of Yamuna river. Now how many of the above were formed due to convergence of tectonic plates? Convergent plate boundaries. And the names of islands, different islands. We know that convergence can be of ocean convergence, ocean continent convergence, continent convergence of tectonic plates. Now many times the island arcs are formed due to ocean convergence, like Caribbean islands are there, or Philippines are Indian Ocean islands. They are because of ocean convergence, formed because of ocean convergence. Now, Hawaiian islands are not formed because of such plate tectonic or tectonic plates convergence. Rather, Hawaiian islands are formed due to hotspot volcanism. ठीक है? So, Hawaiian hotspot is located beneath it, and we know that the formation of mantle plume was asked in the main examination. They can ask in the prelims also. Mantle plumes are formed at the mantle and core boundary. The localized large source of heat is there, and there is melting of rocks, and because of that the huge lava is formed, and that is directly moving up, and it will melt down the rocks of lithosphere, and it will try to move up as the lava, we can say magma. तो ये Hawaiian islands है. Like we have reunion hotspot also. ठीक है, तो 3 जो है ये कन्वर्जेंस से बने हुए हैं, सो वी कैन से दैट सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर. फाइन. Now this one was in news. Dhala crater was in news, and because of that, let's say we are asking Lunar. Already UPSC has asked in the previous year questions. How many of them are correctly matched? Locations. Dhala crater is located where? In Madhya Pradesh. Ramgarh crater is located in Rajasthan, and Lunar crater is located in Maharashtra. Crater lake, basically they are formed due to meteorite impact on the Earth's surface. And 3 major lakes that are there in India because of meteorite impact, these are the 3. ठीक है, तो धला क्रैटर मध्य प्रदेश में है, रामगढ़ क्रैटर इट इज इन राजस्थान, लोनार लेक इज लोकेटेड इन महाराष्ट्र. So only one pair is correctly matched and first 2 are not correctly matched. Answer would be here A. Okay, we are trying to cover the mapping section as wider as possible. Now those who have डन आर पीटी मैराथन बैच, उनके लिए ये क्वेश्चन काफ़ी इजी रहा होगा. हमने शायद इस तरीके से क्वेश्चन डिस्कस भी किया था क्लास में. यस, एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स मे मिस दिस कमांड हियर, इट इज इनकरेक्ट. अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग, जो मैं बार बार बोलते रहता हूँ क्लास में भी, कि मोस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस विच आर इजी क्वेश्चंस, वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चंस, वहाँ पे यूपीसी कमांड इनकरेक्ट लिखता है ताकि आप गलती करें. Okay, all earthquakes occur in Earth's crust. This is incorrect. All earthquakes occur in the Earth's lithosphere. कहाँ पे होता है? Lithosphere में होता है. ठीक है. Then all earthquakes occurring on the ocean floor result in tsunami? Not necessary. Earthquake with certain level of magnitude, like 4 or 5 and above, can result into tsunami. So not all earthquake. All earthquake occur along the tectonic plate margins. Not necessary. There can be different fault lines within the tectonic plates. Like for example, in India, we can see here on peninsular region, there is Allahabad fault in Bhuj region. Then there is Qutb-ud-din fault in Maharashtra, Latur region. So there we have seen one of the severest, let's say, earthquakes after independence. तो ये इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट हो गया. तीनों इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट है एंड इनकरेक्ट पूछा हुआ है. ऑल 3 आर इनकरेक्ट. सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ठीक है. नाउ अबाउट द टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन फेनोमेनॉन, वी नो बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन. द नॉर्मल लैप्स रेट विच टॉक्स अबाउट डिक्रीज इन टेम्परेचर विथ इंक्रीज इन अल्टीट्यूड. Okay, and that is, we know in troposphere it is 6.5 degrees Celsius per 1000 meter of altitude. But many times due to certain conditions, which conditions? Climatological conditions, there can be reverse lapse rate. यानी कि क्या है, जो conditions normal lapse rate के है वो reverse हो जाएंगे. That means increase in temperature with increase in altitude. So the favorable climatic conditions are long winter nights. That is true, because long winter nights will help more and more terrestrial radiations from the Earth's surface, and there will be more cooling of the surface. Cloudless and clear sky, this is also favorable. Why? Because it does not obstruct the outgoing terrestrial radiations. Then slow movement of air, this is true, it will not affect the temperature conditions due to advection. ठीक है, advection मतलब horizontal movement से. Then the snow covered ground surface, this is also favorable. How? Because snow covered ground surface is having more albedo, it will reflect all the incoming radiations and keep the ground cool. But this one, presence of moist air near the ground surface, this is not favorable. Rather, there should be dry air. Presence of moist air will lead into instability. ठीक है, instability. That means there will be upward movement of wind, and that may lead to condensation and precipitation, cloud formation, which is not favorable condition for temperature inversion. So only 4 conditions mentioned here are favorable for temperature inversion. All right, next. The naming system of tropical cyclones, they have asked this question in mains examination in geography in 2013 or 14. naming of cyclone system. So there can be question in prelims one way or other way. ठीक है, तो आपको hints लेने हैं PYQ से, मेंस भी हो prelims भी. ठीक है, so we have to identify the correct statements, and there are regional we can say cyclone management centers are there of WMO panel, World Meteorological Panel, on we can say tropical cyclones, and that is located in IMD. ठीक है, IMD acts as a such RSMS center for Indian Ocean region, and it is having 13 members at present. The 13 coastal countries of Indian Ocean, they provide 13 names. These names are arranged in a list. Total 169 names are there in that list, and in sequence these names are used. Let's have a look at this statement. The names of tropical cyclones will not be repeated. This is correct. Now, maximum length of name will be 8 letters. Yes, they are short, they are, we can say, easy to pronounce, easy to read. A tropical cyclone from South China Sea which crosses and emerges in Bay of Bengal, it will be given new name. Now, this is incorrect. It will not be given न्यू नेम. वो पुराना नाम जो उसका साउथ चाइना सी में रखा हुआ है, जो वहाँ पर क्या होता है, टाइफून्स होता है, एंड बेसिकली द नेम इज गिवन टू टाइफून बाय द रीजनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ दैट रीजन. ठीक है, तो वहाँ से वो जो नाम आता है दैट इज कंटिन्यूड फॉर सच काइंड ऑफ साइक्लोन्स. तो दो ही स्टेटमेंट सही है यहाँ पर. व्हाट शुड बी द आंसर? बी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ओके, ऑल राइट. Then now this is unique question. Why? Because we are connecting the protected areas with the rivers here. ठीक है, ब्रह्मपुत्रा river flows to the north of काजीरंगा national park. This is correct statement. ठीक है, काजीरंगा national park जो है ब्रह्मपुत्रा river के southern side में है. काबिनी river flows to the south of बंदीपुर national park. Now this is, we can say, incorrect. It flows to the north of Bandipur. Basically, the Kabini river separates Bandipur National Park and Nagar Hole National Park. Separates Nagar Hole and Bandipur National Park. This is incorrect. Banas river flows to the north of Ranthambore National Park. This is correct. And south of it is Chambal river. ठीक है, नॉर्थ में बानस है, साउथ में चंबल रिवर है रणथंबोर के यहाँ पर. तो हाउ मेनी स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट हियर? ओके, बी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ठीक है, now moving on, 11th question. Okay, so we are trying to cover as many as possible such kind of names of ores, so especially covering critical minerals. And it was in news also recently. Geological Survey of India has found the sources of vanadium in Gulf of Khambat. इसलिए ये न्यूज़ में भी था. And these sources of Gulf of Khambat are rich sources of this ore, titanomagnetite ore, which is the major ore. ठीक है, मेजर ओर ऑफ वैनेडियम. आपको लग सकता है कि टाइटेनियम होगा या मैग्नीशियम होगा, नाम के ऊपर हमने कंफ्यूज करने की कोशिश की है, बट डी इज द आंसर हियर. नाउ वैनेडियम इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट, वी कैन से, क्रिटिकल मिनरल. हमने उसको क्रिटिकल मिनरल क्लासीफाई भी किया हुआ है, जो हमने 30 मिनरल्स, क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स क्लासीफाई किए हुए, लिस्ट किए हुए हैं क्रिटिकल मिनरल. Yes. Now, this titanomagnetite or vanadium, this ore is formed when the lava solidifies abruptly inside the earth crust. ठीक है, abruptly मतलब क्या हो जाता है, बहुत ही fast solidify हो जाता है. And because of that, this titanomagnetic ore is formed. Now, in Gulf of Khambat, whatever the resources of vanadium or this ore are found, they are basically because of deposits of Tapi and Narmada river brought from Sahyadris and that region. ठीक है, तो वहाँ से वो डिपॉजिट करके वो रिसोर्सेज बने हुए, रिजर्व्स बने हुए हैं. डी इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर. ठीक है, ऑल राइट. Yes, the description type of question, very standard question can be asked in the description type. Climate, vegetation, soil. ठीक है, क्रॉप भी पूछता है. ये मैं कुछ चीज़ें आपको PYQ के अंडरस्टैंडिंग्स के ऊपर, बेसिस के ऊपर बता रहा हूँ, तो उसी तरीके से आपको तैयार करना है. द रीजन टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट हैज डिस्टिंक्टली ड्राई एंड वेट सीजन। जनरली ये कहाँ पर होता है? वेट एंड ड्राई टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट जिसको बोलते हैं सवाना टाइप बोलते हैं। सवाना टाइप को ही हम सूडान टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट भी बोलते हैं। दोज हु हैव रेड द जीसी लियोंग उनको इमीडिएटली समझ में आ जाएगा सूडान टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट क्या होता है। इसलिए हमने यहाँ पे सवाना नहीं लिखा है, तो ताकि आपको पता भी होना चाहिए कि सूडान क्लाइमेट इज बेसिकली इट इज द सवाना टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट। Yes, of course, it is typified by the tall grass and short trees. Trees have broad trunks which act as a water storing devices. The people living in this region, like Kenya में क्या है? Masai tribe है, ठीक है, Masai tribe, and they have the unique kind of, we can say, cattle. And these cattle are kept for, we can say, the blood and meat. वो मिल्क नहीं पीते हैं, इनका ब्लड पीते हैं, ठीक है। ये जो कैटल होता है केन्या का, जिबू टाइप का जो नाम है उसका। However, the cattle become victims of disease like sleeping sickness because of bite of tsetse fly. Tsetse fly is harmful for cattle, ठीक है। तो ये कहाँ पर है? सूडान टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट और सवाना टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट, ठीक है। ऑल राइट, नाउ as the following, the types of landforms, lakes is as they have asked in mains examination last year. The formation of fjords, तो यहाँ पर आपको लैंडफॉर्म से रिलेटेड अलग अलग तरीके से प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन आ सकता है। टाइप्स ऑफ लेक्स, रिबन लेक, यहाँ पे देखिए लगून लेक, एवरीवन नोज लगून लेक आर कोस्टल लैंडफॉर्म्स लाइक वी हैव इन इंडिया ऑन द ईस्टर्न कोस्ट ऑफ इंडिया, जैसे चिलिका लेक इज देयर, पुलिकत लेक इज देयर, so they are lagoon lake, so this one is correctly matched. What about ribbon lake? Yes, it is a glacial landform, and how it is formed, very unique way the forming of this. Let's say this is the way glacier is moving, and if suppose there is hard rock here and here there is soft rock and here there is again hard rock, so soft rock will be easily eroded, no, this will be easily eroded, and there will be more and more deposition work here. The receding glacier will deposit all the sediments here, and these sediments will actually obstruct the flow of water, forming the lake here, and this lake is called as ribbon lake, ठीक है। तो this is correct. What about Kettle Lake? It's not the riverine landform, no. Kettle Lake is again the glacial landform, and this is found in outwash plains, ठीक है। कहाँ पर मिलता है ये? outwash plains जो एंड में होता है, जहाँ पर जो रिसीडिंग ग्लेशियर होता है, द लार्ज आइस ब्लॉक्स कैन बी लेफ्ट अलोन बाय द रिसीडिंग ग्लेशियर्स, एंड व्हेन दे आर मेल्टिंग इन द डिपोजिशनल लैंडफॉर्म्स, तो वहां पर क्या हो जाता है? ऐसे लेक्स तैयार हो जाते हैं आइसोलेटेड आइस ब्लॉक की वजह से, उनको केटल लेक बोलते हैं। ओके, सो ओनली 2 आर करेक्टली मैच्ड हियर। व्हाट इज द आंसर? बी इज द आंसर हियर। ओके, ठीक है। Now it is mainly, I was talking about the crops also, descriptive type of question, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पर देखिए, it is mainly rain fed kharif crop, however it is also grown as a rabi crop in some of the southern states. It requires 50 to 100 centimeter of rainfall and frost free weather. अब यहाँ पर आपको कंफ्यूज हो सकते हो आप कि रबी क्रॉप, खरीफ क्रॉप, जैसे wheat तो चला गया ना, it is basically rabi crop essentially, it is essentially rabi crop. Now 50 to 100 सेंटीमीटर रेनफॉल, राइस को उससे ज्यादा चाहिए ना रेनफॉल, दिस इज इनकरेक्ट। नाउ द कंफ्यूजन इज बिटवीन ज्वार एंड मेज। सी, ज्वार इज नॉट ग्रोन एज रबी क्रॉप एज सच, या फिर आप कंफ्यूज होते हैं तो यहां पर देखिए, कर्नाटका इज द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ दिस क्रॉप। नाउ फ्रॉम दैट यू कैन एलिमिनेट ज्वार। व्हाई? बिकॉज ज्वार major producers are Maharashtra and Rajasthan and Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, these are the major producers. Maize is the correct answer, Karnataka is the leading producer. इस तरीके से आप elimination method use करिए यहाँ पर with the available information and logic. Alright, the next question is again resources related. So every year 1 or 2 questions they are asking resources related. Now iron ore resources, hematite, there are 4 generally types of iron ores. On the basis of, we can say, their quality: hematite, magnetite, limonite and siderite. ठीक है, more than 70% of iron ore content, we can say between 60 to 70%, then we can say that 40 to 60%, less than 40%. इस तरीके से याद. Hematite is the best quality iron ore followed by magnetite. This is correct statement. Most of the hematite ore is found in southern state. Now this is incorrect. This is found in largely Dharwad system and Kadapa system, eastern states like Odisha, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. तो ये इनकरेक्ट है. मैग्नेटाइट जो है वो सदर्न स्टेट्स में मिलता है, वो ईस्टर्न लिखा हुआ है. दिस इज फाउंड इन सदर्न स्टेट्स. मैग्नेटाइट कर्नाटका, गोवा, महाराष्ट्र, उस तरीके से हम बोल सदर्न स्टेट्स, राइट. सो दिस इज इनकरेक्ट. इंडिया इज द फोर्थ लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ आयरन ओर इन द वर्ल्ड. दिस इज करेक्ट, वी कैन से. नाउ ओडिशा इज द लार्जेस्ट और लीडिंग प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ आयरन ओर. मोर देन 50%. More than 50% of iron ore is produced by Odisha only. So these statements are correct. 3 statements are there correct. C is the answer here. ठीक है. So major resources try to cover for prelims also. Now, the Arctic region is warming faster than any other region in the world. This phenomenon we learn in the current affairs also called as Arctic amplification. And if you know the reason behind this properly, you get the correct answer here. Arctic amplification. This is correct statement. The melting of ice cover in the Arctic exposes more water surface which has higher albedo. Now water surface is not having higher albedo. Rather it is having comparatively lower albedo than ice. And because of that it is trapping more heat. And that's why there will be more melting of ice. This is cyclic phenomenon. That's why the warming is amplified here. This is called as Arctic amplification, and this statement is incorrect. Second statement is incorrect. So what should be the answer? C is the correct answer. So this is how we should understand the concepts also. Then the blue hole. So one of the largest and deepest blue hole was recently discovered, the Yucatan Peninsula, and that's why it was in news also. Yucatan Peninsula, है ना, blue hole. So basically it is a kind of sea sinkhole या marine sinkhole जिसको हम बोलते हैं. Okay, sinkhole. So it is a marine sinkhole formed during the ice age when the sea level was much lower than present. This is correct. Okay, D is the correct answer here. Why? Let's understand this phenomenon. What happened during the ice age? There was fall of sea level considerably because whatever the water was there on the land, that was trapped in the form of solidified ice. And that's therefore the sea was basically eroding the lower part of the land or coastal areas. But over the period, the warming phase started and the sea level started increasing. Whatever the eroded part was there, it started filling up. The eroded part many times was in the form of holes or sinkholes. जैसे हम ग्राउंड वाटर के लैंडफॉर्म्स पढ़ते हैं तो वहाँ पे sinkholes देखते हैं. Okay, so in the same manner here the sinkholes, marine sinkholes, they are filled up, and you can see that at present these are called as now blue hole. As the name suggests, basically यहाँ पर क्या होता है, ऐसे गोल स्ट्रक्चर होता है, सेंटर में डार्क ब्लू कलर वाटर होता है. At center it is dark blue and at the periphery it is the light blue color. It is the light blue color at periphery. ठीक है, blue hole. Fine. Okay. So these are the geography questions. Now let's discuss the environment questions also, environment related questions. Just a moment. Yes. So this time also in environment we have tried to cover the various aspects of environment section. We are trying to let's say maximize the wider coverage. The way UPC is also asking some random questions in environment section, but the trend is continued, we can say. So yes, why it was in news? International Criminal Court recognized ecocide as the international crime. What is ecocide? Ecocide is basically the destruction of environment or ecology that happens due to human actions, especially like war like conditions जहाँ पर एकदम catastrophic destruction होता है. So this is, we can say, correct statement. Recently ICC has recognized ecocide caused by the Ukraine-Russia war. Right. The provision on war crimes in Rome Statute also includes the environmental damage caused during wartime. From this war crimes and implicit meaning mentioned here in the environment damage during wartime period. In Rome Statute ICC का जो base हम बोल सकते हैं International Criminal Court का. So this is correct, and basically it is the explanation of statement 1, and that's why answer would be A here. Now, about the species naturally found in India. Yes, biodiversity of India, Kiang. Yes, what is Kiang? Tibetan wild ass. Kiang जो है Tibetan wild ass. Most of the population is found in Tibet, China, but few of the Kiangs can be found in the border regions in Ladakh and Sikkim. Border regions, Ladakh and Sikkim. So we can say that it is naturally found. This is correct. White crocodile, yes, Chambal river, and we can say Chambal sanctuary is also there. There we find the white crocodile. There are 4 species of monitor lizard found in India. ठीक है, तो monitor lizard is also common in India. We can say commonly found, naturally found. All 3 species are naturally found in India. All right. So C is the correct answer. With reference to Madrid Protocol, what is this protocol? It is related to protection of environment in Antarctic. कहाँ पर है ये? Antarctic continent के ऊपर बोल सकता है. It envisages protection of Arctic Ocean लिखा हुआ है, देखिए. Those who know that it is related to Antarctic easily eliminate the first. Yes, it outlines the arrangement to prevent and respond to the environment emergencies arising from the scientific research program. This is correct. Yes, it prohibits mining indefinitely. It allows those scientific expeditions only after severe EIA environment impact assessment process. ठीक है, तो we can say that second statement is correct. Only 2, that is B is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. All right. Yes, which of the following statement is incorrect? It is asking. It is asking incorrect. Now, about the tiger population and tiger reserves, India has the highest tiger population among all tiger range countries. 70% of the world's tigers reside in India. Okay, 70% about. Madhya Pradesh has highest number of tiger reserves in the country. That is true. How many? Total 7 tiger reserves are there in Madhya Pradesh. Only 1 tiger reserve has been declared in the state of Bihar. This is correct. What is the name? Valmiki Tiger Reserve. As a part of, we can say, Valmiki Tiger Reserve. ठीक है, कहाँ पर है ये? Northern part of, we can say, along the boundary with Nepal, in that what we can say densely forested regions. ठीक है, जो marshy land हम बोल सकते हैं, वहाँ पर ये located है. Right. Only 6 tiger reserves of India have earned the CATS accreditation so far. The CATS is the international accreditation given to the protected areas of tigers. Tiger reserves में India में at present 23 tiger reserves have received this, 6 नहीं. So this is incorrect statement. So answer would be D. Incorrect पूछा हुआ है. अब पहले 3 भी पता है आपको, तो ये आप इजीली एलिमिनेट करके डी मार्क कर सकते हैं, भले ही वो फैक्ट नहीं पता है तो. दिस इज हाउ वी शुड अप्रोच टू दिस क्वेश्चन. ऑल राइट, मूविंग ऑन. विथ रेफरेंस टू क्राइसोटाइल, यस, क्राइसोलाइट इज अ स्टोन. वी कैन से इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ मिनरल पार्ट ऑफ, वी कैन से द ब्लूइश और ग्रीनिश कलर, जिसको हम ज्वेलरीज में यूज करते हैं. ऑलिविन जो ग्रीनिश कलर में होता है, उसका एक हम बोलते हैं क्राइसोलाइट. बट इट इज आस्किंग क्राइसोटाइल, उसमें कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है. क्राइसोटाइल इज अ काइंड ऑफ एस्बेस्टोस. ठीक है, एस्बेस्टोस कॉमनली यूज्ड इन द टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री. दिस इज करेक्ट. It is banned by the government of India due to its carcinogenic impact. Yes, it is having carcinogenic impact, but it is not banned yet by government of India. Yes, no safe limits of chrysotile exposure have been prescribed by WHO. This is correct, we can say. So only 2 statements are correct here. B is the correct answer. So such kind of framing last year was related to mercury. ठीक है, Now, interaction between cattle egret and rhinoceros, best understood as the biotic interaction that we learn in ecology, right? So yes, cattle egret and rhinoceros, जो rhinoceros के ऊपर बैठ के जो cattle egrets होता है, cattle के ऊपर बैठना, and basically they are eating the kind of, let's say, small insects. They are coming out on the ground because of these heavy rhinoceros and cattles when they are walking on the ground. ठीक है, तो ये क्या करते हैं, soil displace करते हैं, तो उससे वो जो insects ऊपर आते हैं तो उनको ये खाते हैं, हम बोल सकते हैं cattle egret. So it is a kind of example of commensalism where the one species is benefiting and other is remaining neutral. ठीक है, so one is benefiting, who is benefiting, cattle egret, and one is neutral. Now this type of let's say interaction is also called as facultative commensalism. ठीक है, facultative commensalism means basically it is the cattle egret in this interaction is not solely dependent on rhinoceros, rather it can also have the other food. ठीक है, तो इसको facultative commensalism बोला गया है. Okay, so B is the correct answer. दूसरा टाइप होता है obligate commensalism. Obligate commensalism wherein the interaction is very important for this species, like यहाँ पे जो dependent species होता है उसके लिए important होता है, because that is the sole, let's say वो अगर बॉन्ड ब्रेक हो जाता है तो वहां पर वो नहीं जी पाता है. ठीक है, द स्पीसीज मे नॉट सर्वाइव, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल एपीफाइट्स और ऑर्चर्ड्स. ठीक है, सो फॉर सनलाइट दे आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन द होस्ट, ऑल्सो दे डिराइव सम न्यूट्रिशन. सो बी इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर, commensalism. Next, mixing olivine rocks with the sand. So what this question is asking, how many of the above methods can be used to facilitate carbon removal from the atmosphere, bring down the average global temperatures? So direct removal of carbon from the atmosphere, or we can say that there are different methods of carbon capture, storage and utilization are being let's say explored. Mixing olivine rocks with the sand and spreading on the beach, this is called as ocean alkalization. ठीक है, तो इससे क्या होने वाला है, atmospheric CO2 will interact with this olivine rocks and there will be CO2 capture, there will be formation of carbonates, they will be deposited. ठीक है, तो उसको बोलते हैं alkalization. So this is correct statement we can say. Now the seaweed farming, this is also correct. Why? Because seaweed will capture the CO2 from the dissolved CO2 from the ocean, and more scope for dissolution from the atmosphere CO2 will be there. Seaweed can be also harnessed for any other purpose like medicinal purpose, and we can say the cattle feed. Now sprinkling powdered basalt rock over the soil, this is also one of the method to capture CO2. Why? Because it will convert the atmospheric carbon into carbonates, bicarbonates, and that will deposit it on the, we can say, in the soil. So soil will basically get benefits from this, along fertility will improve, along with the carbon will be captured here. So all three we can say are the examples of the carbon removal from the atmosphere. C is the correct answer. Yes. Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. This was set up as a think tank, we can say, provide the science-based solutions to different countries. It was set up in 2012 after the Busan document came out in 2010 related to research related to, we can say, biodiversity and its ecosystem services. Now look at this, it was established in response to Rio 10 summit. This is incorrect. Now its mission is to provide science-backed inputs for environment policy making. This is correct. All the UN members are eligible to join it. This is also correct. Now you should know that it is not part of UN family, but UNEP provides secretariat service to this. Okay, and yes, this is set up in Mexico City. Oh, sorry, Panama City, not Mexico City, Panama City. Okay, so we can say this one is correct. Two statements are correct here, but yes, question is asking incorrect statements. Incorrect statement only one, that is A is the correct answer. Only one, A is the correct answer. 59. With reference to India's biodiversity, what are these species? Andaman crake and Ashambhu laughing thrush. These are the species of birds. Simply such kind of questions are being asked, like species or fish species and all these things. Okay, so these are some species, important species. Andaman crake, it is a bird. Okay. Now, according to UNCCD, recently it was in news, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, the following lake has emerged as a new source of sand and dust storms due to human triggered desertification. ठीक है, तो ये क्या है ये? It is basically Aral Sea. Aral Sea in Central Asia, from the northern side Kazakhstan, from the southern side it is Uzbekistan. Two countries have major rivers draining into Aral Sea. Earlier it was basically the Sir Darya and the कौन से रहे? Sir Darya and other is which one? और एक कौन सी दरिया रिवर है ना, और एक, ठीक है, तो दो ये रिवर ड्रेन कर रही थी अरल लेक में, बट ये रिवर्स पे बहुत सारे डैम्स बांध के अलग अलग कंट्रीज ने क्या किया हुआ है, उसको ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट किया हुआ है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई नाउ अरल सी ओवर द पीरियड हैज लेट्स से रिस्ट्रिक्टेड, or we can say that its area has been, let's say, reduced, and there is formation of new desert there in its bed. न्यू डेजर्ट, उसको अरल कुमा बोलते हैं. ठीक है, नया डेजर्ट तैयार हुआ है उसी के बेसिन में, अरल सी के. ओके फाइन, ऑलराइट. अमू दरिया, ठीक है, सिर दरिया एंड अमू दरिया, पार्डन मी, दीज टू आर द रिवर्स. राइट, इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ स्टार्टअप इंडस्ट्री कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेट. ओके, ये कहाँ से आया इधर, एक मिनट. ओके, सारे हो गए क्वेश्चंस. जस्ट अ मोमेंट. हाँ, यहाँ से है, एनवायरमेंट से रिलेटेड. विथ रेफरेंस टू बैटरी वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल्स 2022, consider the following statements. The rules cover electric vehicle batteries, portable batteries, automotive batteries and industrial batteries. So this is correct, we can say these rules have replaced the earlier batteries rules of 2001. Now, while incineration may be used for disposal of waste batteries, there is provision of disposal in landfill. So there is no incineration also. Incineration as well as dumping in landfills, both are not allowed. So this is incorrect statement. Central Pollution Control Board can cancel the registration and impose for compensation in case of non-compliance. This is correct, we can say. So only two statements are correct here. So answer would be B. Answer would be B. So every year there will be question on environmental law, rules and regulation. Global Flaring and Methane Reduction Partnership was recently announced by World Bank on the sidelines of COP28. COP28 happened in Dubai, ठीक है, UAE. So this was announced by the World Bank. As the name suggests, global flaring and methane reduction. So it tries to cut down the CO2 and methane emissions generated by the oil and gas industry. ठीक है, World Bank led initiative. C is the correct answer. Now, recently the production and use of ketoprofen has been banned in India. It is widely used as veterinary drug. ठीक है, एक बार उन्होंने जो डाइक्लोफिनेक वाला क्वेश्चन पूछा था, इट इज गिवन इन एनसीईआरटी आल्सो, डाइक्लोफिनेक एंड द रिड्यूसिंग पॉपुलेशन ऑफ वल्चर्स इन द कंट्री. तो उसी तरीके से कीटोप्रोफेन हैज बीन बैंड. इट हैज, लेट्स से, पॉसिबिलिटीज ऑफ बायो एक्यूमुलेशन and biomagnification. Why? Because it remains in atmosphere or overall environment for long period of time. It can harm different species if it is bioaccumulated and biomagnified. So D is the correct answer, veterinary drug. 99. With reference to Biological Diversity Act 2002 and its amendments. तो ये 2023 में amend हुआ था recently, इसलिए news में था. Yes, State biodiversity boards advise the state government regarding selection and management of heritage sites, biodiversity heritage site. It is not the State Biodiversity Board, rather it is NBA, National Biodiversity Authority. It advised state governments regarding the selection and management. This is incorrect. It is mandatory for Ayush practitioners to pay compensation under the access and benefit sharing clause of the Act. Now, in this amendment, the Ayush practitioners has been exempted to provide such compensation. They have been exempted. So we can say this is also incorrect, and that's why answer would be D, neither one nor two. Neither one nor two. And the last question for the day from environment section, the term carbon insetting, sometimes mentioned in news, is seen in the context of which one of the following? So carbon offsetting हम पढ़ते हैं. Offsetting is मतलब यहाँ पे emissions होने वाले थे वो कहीं और हो रहे यहाँ पे ना होके, उसको हम बोलते हैं carbon offsetting. Now, insetting is basically the nature-based solutions to reorient supply chains and achieve climate neutrality. This is correct. So within organization, the supply chain can be made more climate, we can say, neutral by various measures through nature-based solutions, implementing nature-based solutions. So this is called as carbon insetting. तो अंदर के अंदर ही supply chains को more efficient banana, and there will be less and less carbon emissions. So that is called as carbon insetting. So A is the correct answer here. Fine. So these are the questions from geography and environment section. And if you have doubt, you can ask in the comment box and we'll try to reply to those queries. Fine. Okay. Let us stop there. Thank you.
So now I am going to discuss the 15 questions of history and culture section for our second test of the Panchsutra series for preliminary examination. So I will start with 21st question. See, this question is from art and culture. It is focused upon the theatre. So the question reads like this. There is a statement given or paragraph given and you have to identify the right option. So it is a folk theatre formed in Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Malwa region of Madhya Pradesh. It is considered as the most ancient folk theatre form of India. Two important styles of this theatre are Rohtak and Hathras. Nautanki and Tamasha originated from this folk dance theatre. It means this paragraph is devoted to a folk theatre style, which is more popular in North India, and two of the styles, Nautanki and Tamasha, has been born from that. So we have to identify which one of the following folk theatres is being mentioned in the above paragraph. So this paragraph talks about which kind of folk theatre, what is the name. So if we look at the options, there are four options. Bhavai, it is a folk theatre of Gujarat where bhavana, emotions are given important place. Jatra came into being during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where Jatra means travelling. So the Bhakti saints used to roam around singing, dancing and music, but later it acquired a folk theatre form also. This is popular in Bengal. Swang is popular in these areas, and swang means to act, to dramatize something. Then we can say swang is the right answer. March is the another folk theatre form which is found or popular in Madhya Pradesh, right? So the answer becomes swang, C. In the 22nd question, there are four pairs given and we have to identify that whether these four pairs are correctly matched or not. Or the question is reads like this: how many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? So out of the four pairs, how many are correctly matched? So let us look at the pairs and then identify the right answer. So it is basically the pairs are about archaeological sites are mentioned and their location, where they are located, which state they are located in, we have to identify. So historical group of Dhamnar, Madhya Pradesh, Bhojeshwar Mahadev Temple, Odisha, Khuni Bhandara, Uttar Pradesh, Gond monuments of Ramnagar, Rajasthan. If this is a bit question with higher level of difficulty, if you have not studied in depth, there might be difficulty in identifying the right options. But I would like to say that all these four archaeological sites belong to only one state, that is Madhya Pradesh. So what we can say, how many pairs are correctly matched? Only one, historical group of Dhamnar, Madhya Pradesh. Rest of the locations are wrongly mentioned, right? So, historical group of Dhamnar is a complex which with what you can say Dharma Rajeshwar temple as its main attraction. Then Bhojeshwar Mahadev temple was founded by one very popular king called Raja Bhoj, who was also the founder of Bhojpal or Bhopal, the capital city of Madhya Pradesh. This temple is known for linga or shivling forming as its core in the Garbhagriha. Khoni Bhandara is a very efficient underground water management system which came into existence in Burhanpur district during the times of Mughals. While the Gond monuments of Ramnagar are a collection of 4 or 5 monuments again present in Mandala of Madhya Pradesh. Right. Now we go to the next question. So how many pairs are correct? Only one. Answer would be A. Then 23rd question. This is about the Academy of Letters or Sahitya Academy. With reference to the Sahitya Academy, consider the following statements. So we have got 2 statements. We have to identify whether they are correct or not. Which of the statements given above is correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. So let us read the statements. It is an autonomous body funded by the Ministry of Education. Now here is the catch. Yes, it is funded by the government, but it is not the Ministry of Education. It is the Ministry of Culture that funds the organization. So the first option becomes wrong. Factually, it is incorrect. Second is, it undertakes literary activities only in languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. So there are, I think, 22 languages mentioned over there, but the Academy promotes literary activities in 24 languages. So this also becomes wrong. Why? There are 2 more languages which are covered besides the languages given in 8th schedule by the Sahitya Academy. That is, 2 more languages are Rajasthani and English. So both the statements are wrong. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer would be D. Neither 1 nor 2. Right? Many of these questions which we are going to discuss today have been borrowed from a very basic book which we suggest to you as a main book for your preparation. Right? Then 24th question. Again, it is a pairs type question. There are 4 pairs given and the pairs are about paintings and the locations of these are basically cave or temple paintings which has been mentioned over there, and you have to identify whether they are the states in which they are located are correctly mentioned or not. So let us see. Lepakshi paintings. Lepakshi is basically a temple which flourished under the Vijayanagar Empire and yes, it is in Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh. So this is correctly matched. It is known for its murals. Then comes Sittan Vasal cave paintings. Sittan Vasal should be known to you very well. It's a very basic kind of fact asked to you. It is not located in Odisha. It is located in Pudukkottai district of Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu should be the state. So second pair is not correctly matched. Then comes Arma Malai cave paintings. The location is in Vellore. Vellore is a district in Tamil Nadu. So this is correct. Then comes Jogimara cave paintings. Jogimara cave paintings are one of the important sites for prehistoric paintings such like Bhimbetka. Bhimbetka is located in Madhya Pradesh, while Jogimara cave paintings are located in Chhattisgarh. So this is also true. The only pair which is not correctly matched is second. So how many of the above pairs are correctly matched? We would say only 3. C becomes the answer. We are providing you written explanations, so you can study the things in detail from the printed copy or the soft copy which you get. Then comes the 25th question. So here the question is very simple, straight. In the context of ancient India, the terms Bali or Bali, Bhag and Shulk refer to. So there are 4 options given and you have to identify What these terms relate to? Bali, Bhag and Shulk. See, these terms are more related to some kind of taxation. Bali was originally a voluntary offering during Rigvedic times given by people of a tribe to the elected king who was called Rajan. Later, it became a compulsory tax as monarchy evolved. Bhag was the share of the state or the king in a monarchical system in the produce of the land. So it was a form of land revenue. The rate was around 1/6 during the modern periods, 1/6 to 1/4 during the Gupta period. Then Shulk was a tax. It was some kind of customs duty or tax levied on products entering from one territory to another territory, manufactured goods. So all these three forms are taxes. So let us look at the options. Forms of regular tributes and taxes. A, first option is correct. We need not to even look at the other three options if we have studied this thing properly. The other options given are forms of tribal assemblies. The examples of tribal assemblies are Sabha, Samiti, Gana, Parishad, these kind of things. Parishad became later Council of Ministers. Types of rudimentary army, no, that is wrong. Types of yajanas or sacrifices, you would have heard about many yajanas or sacrifices like Rajaswi, Ashwamedh, Vajpayee. So now you get that the right answer is answer A. Now we go to the 26th question. Now this question is about Chola Empire. See, Cholas came into existence as an entity during the Sangam period. They are mentioned first. They are also mentioned in the rock edicts of Ashoka, but they created a bigger empire in the early medieval period. So let us study the question. With reference to the Chola Empire, consider the following statements. Now three statements are given and we have to identify how many of the statements given above are correct. So these are the options given. Only one, only two, all three, none. Which is correct? So let us read the statements. The first statement is that the Department of Land Revenue the Department of Land Revenue under the Cholas is known as Puravu Vari Tinai Kalam. This statement is very clearly mentioned in books. Yes, this was the term used for the Department of Land Revenue collection. So this statement is correct. Uttar Merur inscription. This is a very important inscription belonging to Chola period, providing a lot of information. It was issued by one famous Chola emperor, Parantak. So Uttar Merur inscription gives details of the election to village committees. So it talks about local self-government, that is decentralized form of government at the village level, and yes, it talks about the element of election present in the regarding village committees, which used to look after the affairs of the villages. Third, the Chola society had a division of caste. Broadly, the Chola society was divided into two castes, Idangai and Vadangai. This is true. You can today also see in South India, the society is broadly divided into two groups, especially Hindu society, that is Brahmins and non-Brahmins. So these were the two broad groups. So how many of the statements given above are correct? We would say all the three statements are correct. Therefore, answer is C. Right? Now we go to the next question. That is question number 27. Here, two statements are given. So consider the following statements. Statement 1. Gan Sangh had an oligarchical system of governance. Gan Singh means some kind of republican form of government, and oligarchy means a group of people running that government. So is this correct answer? Yes, it was an oligarchical system of governance. Gan Sanghas were basically such states where heads of certain clans, especially from the upper side of the society, called Rajas, would come together. They will form the oligarchy or a ruling group and they will govern. So there is an element of democracy to the extent that not one person is ruling the state. But it was not a true republic or a democracy as we see it today, right? But the statement is correct. Yes, it was an oligarchical system of governance. Now, statement second. The administration of a Gan Sangh was run by an elected king. with the help of large councils or assemblies? No. Gana Sangha is a republican form of government. It is not monarchy. So it would not be run by an, what you can say, I'm sorry, it would be was run by an elected king. Yes, so there were kings, but he was not a what you can say, hereditary king. So that way this statement is correct. He was an elected person. So you can see, you are head of a clan, you are looking after the affairs of a clan. At the same time, for the larger territory, there are many such heads who are taking collectively decision for the entire territory. I will give you a very good example. Vajjis were an important Gana Sangha in the period of 16 Mahajanpadas, and there were many clans. One of the clans was Gyatrika, whose head was the father of Mahavir Jain. Mahavir Jain belonged to Gyatrika clan. So there are many clans, right? So the administration of a Gana Sangha was run by an elected king with the help of large council or assemblies. This statement also appears to be true. There could be possible that there could be some person who is first among equals and he is supported by other members of different clans and they govern the entire system together. So we can say that yes, both statement, so the options are, so statement 1 is also correct, statement 2 is also correct. Now the question is, which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? So which option is correct? Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. This appears to be the true option. Yes, answer should be A. Why? Because this statement, second, is explaining the first statement or supporting it, right? Now we go to the 28th question. This question is from medieval India, Sultanate period. So the question reads like this. Consider the following statements. Again, 2 statements are given and we have to consider these statements and then find out from the given options what is the right answer. So statement 1, Qutb-ud-din Aibak, the first Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate, earned the title of Lak Baksh. See, Qutb-ud-din Aibak is said to be the founder of Delhi Sultanate. He was there ruling the Sultanate from Lahore as his capital from 1206 to 1210 for 4 years. He died accidentally while playing shogun or polo. And it is said that he showed generosity in helping the poor and needy people of his own community mostly. So he got the title of Lak Baksh, means the giver of lakhs. So this statement is true and it's a very popularly known fact in the books like NCERTs. Then statement second, Lak Baksh was a term given to those who were known for their militarism and imperialism attributes. This statement is wrong. As I told you, Lak Baksh is not related to, is not term explaining the military and imperial or empire building attributes of Qutb-ud-din Aibak. They are showing his attribute of being a person who believes in charity and helping the poor and needy members of his own community. That is Muslims, right? So we can say statement 2 is wrong, statement 1 is correct. So answer should be C. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. After this, we go to the 29th question. Here 4 points are given and the points reads like this. Religious national movements, division among Maratha leaders, weak economic strategy, use of only artillery and cavalry in the military. Now the question is, how many of the reasons given above led to the loss of Marathas in the Anglo-Maratha wars? You have to identify the right answer. See, there were 3 Anglo-Maratha wars fought between the English East India Company on one side and the Marathas on the other side. By the time these wars takes place, the Marathas have divided themselves into, they were not a single entity. Rather, there were some powerful chieftains who ruled their own territories and Peshwa was considered first among equals. So this was called Maratha Confederacy. 5 important entities being the Peshwa ruling from Pune, then the Bhosle clan ruling from Nagpur, Gaikwads ruling from Baroda, Holkars ruling from Indore, and Sindhyas from Gwalior. And sometimes there were conflicts among themselves, and that became a reason for tension between the Marathas, and the British would try to poke their nose and take advantage of the situation. This is how Anglo-Maratha wars started also, right? So religious national movement was not one of the reasons for the loss of Marathas in the Anglo-Maratha wars. The Marathas did not lose this. Rather, Marathas became a powerful entity due to this before this wars takes place. So option 1 is not a suitable option over here. It is not one of the reasons for the loss of Marathas in the Anglo-Maratha wars. It is said that if you have read the books correctly, then you will find that the third and the last Maratha war was for Anglo-Maratha war was fought in 1817, 1818. Hastings was the what you can say Governor General at this point of time. He adopted an aggressive policy in the backdrop of the Charter Act of 1813, which took away the monopoly of the company for trade in India, and he picked up the issue of Pindaris to pick up a fight with the Marathas. The Marathas were completely defeated and destroyed by this war. Their power came to an end. So they lost to the English. So as I explained, division among Maratha leaders, yes, this is correct. The British took advantage of this also. The Maratha leaders will fight among themselves to increase their territory and power, and moreover, they will try to enhance their influence over the Peshwa, which will not be liked by him, and he will go to the British camp. This will weaken the cause of the Marathas and strengthen the case of the English. The second Anglo-Maratha war in 1803 to 1805 took place due to this reason only, when Holkar, Scindia and Bhosle were trying to tighten their noose around Peshwa. Peshwa did not like. Bajirao II has gone to the English to seek help, and he ended up signing subsidiary alliance. And later, the different Maratha powers were individually defeated by the company, and the company became the most powerful entity in a way in Deccan. Now, weak economic strategy. So, option 2 we can say was one of the contributing factor or reason for the loss of Marathas against the English. Weak economic strategy is also a reason. The Marathas did not engage in international trade. They did not streamline their revenue administration, and that would have become a reason for lack of resources, especially in this backdrop of loss of territories to the English, and that had contributed to military weaknesses also. So, second and third option appears to be correct reasons for the loss of Marathas against the English. Fourth is use of only artillery and cavalry in the military. This is not the reason for Maratha losses. They were having strong cavalry. Artillery they tried to introduce, but that was not very effective. But still, this is not the major cause. Major causes are these. Had the Marathas remained united and they have streamlined their economic system, they would have also been able to upgrade their military system, and finally would have posed a strong challenge against the English. So, how many of the reasons given above led to the loss of Marathas in the Anglo-Maratha wars? We would say only 2, that is 2 and 3. 1 and 4 are not suitable, they are wrong in the context of the Marathas. Sorry, 1 and 4 are wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. So, only 2 is the answer. Answer is B. Now, we go to the 30th question. It belongs to the modern Indian history. 2 statements are given. We have to find out that which of these statements are correct. So, consider the following statements. Now, let us read these statements. The first statement reads like this. The Lahore Congress session of 1929 had authorized Congress Working Committee to launch a program of civil disobedience. This is true. This comes in the backdrop of Nehru report being given a cold response by the British government, which was declared lapsed or null and void by the Congress in its previous session, and it decided in the Lahore session of 1929, which was presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru, that the Congress Working Committee will be having the authority to launch a program of civil disobedience under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, and Gandhi will have the freedom to decide the place and time of starting this civil disobedience movement. Here only, during this session, the very famous Purna Swaraj, Complete Independence Resolution was also passed. So, statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, the civil disobedience movement saw a large number of participation of industrial workers and poor peasants. Here lies the catch. Yes, civil disobedience movement is known for participation of different sections of the society in different parts of the country, including the western, eastern, northern, southern part. But the participation of industrial workers and poor peasants was limited. This statement cannot be said to be correct. So statement 2 is wrong. It was not a large number of participation. So we can say, which of the statements given above are correct? 1 only. This is correct, 2 is wrong. See, the workers participated only in Nagpur region, not in other areas, and the peasants participated more in North India they started the non-land revenue campaign. It was not the case that the peasants participated in large numbers everywhere. The main classes that participated or supported the civil disobedience movement were rich peasants, women, business class and common people. So, answer is A. Now, we go to the next question. This also relates to the modern Indian history. You have to consider the 5 points given over here, and then you have to see that how many of above reasons or these points can be attributed to the famine of Bengal in 1943. It is said that a very devastating famine occurred in 1943 during the World War II, affecting Bengal drastically. It is said that around 3 million people, that is 30 lakh people, died in this, and it is one of the worst disasters of the 20th century in the history of what you can say South Asia. Different factors were responsible for this famine. Now let us see what these reasons are or factors are, or whether all of them are correct or not. So first, series of crop failures in Bengal, particularly wheat. So here lies the catch. Yes, there were crop failures in Bengal, and that was one of the contributing factors to this famine of 1943. But it was not wheat. Bengal was, and today also it is known, eastern part of India, for cultivation of rice, not wheat. So that is the catch. So first option becomes wrong. Cyclone and excessive rainfall, this is true. Even today, Bengal, Orissa, these coastal areas and hinterlands face problems due to cyclone and excessive rainfall. Japanese occupation of Burma is also correct, because when the Japanese occupied Myanmar or Burma, the rice that was, or food grains that were imported from Bengal faced difficulties, and that also contributed to some extent to famines. So option 1, reason 1 is not true, 2 and 3 are correct. Fourth one, promotion of cash crops like indigo and opium. Yes, sorry. Promotion of cash crops encouraged, what we can say, cash crops means those crops which you can sell easily in the market and pay your taxes to the what can I say, colonial masters. So indigo, opium, such crops were encouraged. It automatically means less cultivation of food crops. So this also contributed to the situation of starvation and therefore famine in Bengal. It was one of the causing factors or reasons. Food grain export to Britain, because it is World War II going on, and the army is fighting wars. We are colonized by the Britishers, so British will divert a good amount of food grains towards Britain, and the supplies will be also directed towards the army wherever it was fighting war in Europe and other places. So this will also be a reason for that will be causing some problem during regarding food supply in Bengal, and will be contributing to famine. So we can say that first reason is not applicable, but 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the reasons which are valid. They can be attributed to the famine of Bengal in 1943. So the answer would be only 4. That is C. Right? Now we go to the next question, that is question number 82. Now here 4 statements are given and you have to identify how many of the above are correct regarding the objectives of Sri Rajgopalachari formula. See, Sri Rajgopalachari formula was given by Chakravarti Rajgopalachari in 1944 in order to facilitate talks between Gandhi and Jinnah and break the zincs, the cold relationness in the relations between Congress and League. In that desperation, he came up with the proposal, and he maintained certain, what you can say, options or objectives. So we have to evaluate these 4 statements in that context and see that how many of these are correct. So first, formation of a provisional government at the center with the cooperation of both Indian National Congress and Muslim League. This was a right proposal. This was given by, this was included in Rajgopalachari formula, that Congress and Muslim League will come together. In the transition period, they will form a provisional government. That happened later also. And they will, what you can say, there will be a union government which will be working on certain subjects which will be common to both. Rest of the territories will be governed separately by the governments of Pakistan and India. Second is, so the first statement is correct. Second, setting up a committee to demarcate those areas that have a Muslim majority and hold a referendum on whether or not to form a separate nation. So Rajgopalachari gave this proposal also. This is true. And this offended, what you can say, Jinnah. Jinnah would say that a referendum is okay to be organized in Muslim majority areas, but there was a catch. Not the entire population will participate. He said only Muslims will participate. So third statement, in the event of a partition, mutual agreements for the protection of defense, communications and trade will be created. Rajgopalachari suggested that these areas will remain common. There will be, in a way, you can say, weak central government. And for rest of the purposes, Pakistan and India will have their own governments. They will look after all the affairs separately. So this is also true. Fourth, a new executive council with all Indian members, including separate representation for Muslims and other religious groups. This proposal was never suggested. Such proposals were given by the British regarding executive council, and first such a proposal was given in a limited sense by August offer. Lord Linlithgow gave that offer. Such proposal was repeated in Cripps mission and cabinet plan, but not suggested by Rajgopalachari. So we can say statement 1, 2 and 3 are correct. Statement 4 is wrong. So how many of them are correct? We will say only 3. Answer would become C. Right? Now, so in a way you will see that the idea of separation was accepted way back, even before it was executed by Mountbatten regarding partition of India. Right? Now we go to the next question, question number 83. Again, there are 3 statements given, and you have to again identify how many of the statements given above are correct. So, this is also related to modern India. You have to consider these statements. Consider the following statements. Now, what are the statements? These statements are related to what we call Praja Mandal movement or State People's Conference. Actually, as the national movement increased its expense, more and people started, the mass orientation increase of the national movement in the British provinces. It had impact on the population living in the princely states. The princely states covered almost, what we can say, 20% of the Indian territory, Indian subcontinent, and 1/3 of the population during the British rule. So the people, when they developed new consciousness, they demanded reforms in the administration and governance of princely states, including democratic institutions. So this movement is called State People's Conference, State People Conference in a particular princely state, and leaders of these conferences from princely states came together to organize what we call a convention, All India State People's Conference, or this collectively in Hindi is called Praja Mandal movement. So the people of the princely states are organizing this movement. That's why Praja Mandal. So there are three statements regarding this, and we have to identify how many of them are correct. First, the All India States People's Conference was the association of the Praja Mandals in the princely states under the British Raj. The catch is here. It was not under the British Raj. It was outside the British Raj because it was the gathering of princely states. So, oh, very sorry. The All India States People's Conference was the association of the Praja Mandals in the princely states under the British Raj. But overall, it is British Raj only. So this statement is correct. We cannot call it false. Reason: British controlled the princely states also. So this is correct. Now, statement 1 is correct. There should not be any confusion. Statement 2. Praja Mandals, which were set up all over the nation, aimed to establish a federal republic of the United States of India through an organized revolution. See, Praja Mandals were aimed at reformation within the princely states or their territories. They never talked about a federal republic or such things or organized revolution as such. So that is not real. So this All India State People's Conference was not an organized revolution. It was more of a convention where they will discuss the issues of the princely states and how reforms could be brought. Right. And gradually the Congress, which earlier kept itself away from this movement, would start supporting it. And then the first All India States People's Conference was organized in 1927, but Congress started supporting it from 1913 onwards, and then it was presided over in that year by Jawaharlal Nehru. So the inaugural session of AISPC was not presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru. It was the session of 1937 that was presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru. The inaugural session was in 1927. So this statement is also wrong. So statement 2 and 3 are wrong. Statement 1 is correct. So how many of the statements given above are correct? We would say only one. Answer becomes A. Right? Now we go to the next question, 84th. With reference to the history of India, the term Gumastas denotes, 4 options are given, you have to find out what were Gumastas. Weapons, calligraphists, bonded labor, agents. See, this term has been used more during the British rule, especially when the company was here a trading entity and it has grown powerful. So the Indians, as they lost their grip on direct trade, they started serving as agents of the company, and they would, what you can say, buy the goods from the manufactured goods or raw materials like cotton, cloth, saltpeter, grains, etc. from the people in the villages especially or in small towns, and they will supply it to the company. These agents were called Gumastas. So we can say agents is the right answer, or they were also, you can say, trading, in a way, trading agents. So Gumasta is the word used for trading agents who especially worked for the company during the British times. When the company was here a trading entity, later it became the ruler of the India also. Now I would come to the last question from the history section. So there is a paragraph given to you, and you have to identify, it talks about which of these personalities named here. So which of the following personalities being mentioned in the above paragraph? Ahilyabai Holkar, Rani Abakka Chota, Maharani Setu Lakshmibai, Rani Durgavati. All these were rulers who lived at different points of time. Now we have to see which one is the right answer. See, in such questions, I would suggest first read the lower part, then read the paragraph, and then you will see how you can relate it and how can you identify the right option. So she is famous for having built numerous forts and roads in the Malwa region, sponsoring festivals and offering donations to many Hindu temples. This statement must click to you. There was a queen who was very progressive according to her times and who tried to reestablish the pride of Hindus in the backdrop of Aurangzeb's rule when many temples were destroyed. And she even made donations to reconstruction of temples or to construction of new temples. And it was done over a large part of her territory, and even Kashi Vishwanath temple was constructed by her. She welcomed stalwarts, the great personalities like Marathi poet Moropant, Now it is related to Marathi. This also is the catch. Means she relates to some Maratha ruling family. Sahir Anant Gandhi and Sanskrit scholar Khushali Ram into her capital. John Kay, he is an eminent writer. He has written history of India, China, and other themes. So John Kay, the British historian, gave the queen the title of the philosopher queen. Why? Because she was a very thinking, spiritually inclined, progressive, a queen with a progressive outlook, and she is known as one of the most efficient rulers among the Marathas. And automatically the answer becomes Ahilyabai Holkar. This statement is about Ahilyabai Holkar. After the death of her husband, she took over the charge and governed her territory very well. Indore was the capital of the Holkars, and her time period is 1725 to 1795. She was born in 1725 and she died in 1795 at the age of 70 years. Right? Rani Abakka Chota was a Tuluva queen in Karnataka region. She fought against the Portuguese. Maharani Sethubai Lakshmibai belonged to the Kottayam region of Kerala, and she ruled in what you can say Travancore. And Rani Durgavati is remembered for her bravery and pride as well. So you should be knowing something about all these rulers, then only you can guess properly the right option. But the option is very obvious because Ahilyabai Holkar is the distinct personality among the queens who ruled at any point of time. Now I will pass over the baton to the next faculty. Thank you.
So hello students. So in this particular session I am going to take the discussion of the questions from science and technology section. So there are 10 questions from science and technology from question number 61 to question number 70. Okay, so we are going to discuss each question now. So let us quickly discuss the first question. This particular question is related to a specific type of engines, right, that are used by the space sector. So here we are talking about the cryogenic engines. You might have heard about cryogenic engines because the Indian Space Research Organization uses this engine to launch, let's say, like, vehicles to launch, let's say, like, various kind of space mission. So cryogenic engines are considered to be one of the most efficient type of engines that are used by space agencies like ISRO. So why it is considered to be the most efficient? We are going to discuss it through this particular question. So it says they are reaction based machines. Definitely this statement is right. Why they are reaction based machine? Because like cryogenic engines, let's say, work on the basis of they thrust gas, and so like they thrust matter, and then it, let's say, like it receives reaction, and based on this particular engine works. Okay, so that's why they are known as reaction based engines. Otherwise other kind of engines are, let's say, working on motor, so they work on, let's say, like how the motors are rotating, based on that principle they work. But cryogenic engines are little different, and here they have mentioned that they use aviation turbine fuel in liquid stage. Okay, it does not use aviation turbine fuel. It uses the fuel, right, which is hydrogen, right, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, hydrogen and oxygen in liquid state. Okay, it uses the fuel of hydrogen and oxygen in liquid stage. Then third, the ultra low temperature of cryogenic engines increases the fuel carrying capacity of the rocket. This statement is also right, because when the fuel is cooled down, right, it somehow solidifies. I mean, like the molecules come closer to one another and the molecules are packed closely with one another, it increases the density. So that's why, since the cryogenic engines operate on ultra low temperatures, so that's why the fuel carrying capacity of these engines are very high. Okay, this is the thing. So how many of the above statements are correct? Only two, means first and third statement are correct. So with this, now quickly let us move to the next question. This question says, with reference to H5N1 virus, this virus is also known as bird flu. You might have heard heard about this particular term many a times in news, bird flu. So they have given 3 statements related to bird flu. Okay, we need to identify how many of the above statements are correct. Okay, so number 1, it is a type of virus that causes avian influenza. This statement is right. You might have heard about this term also in news or in newspapers. It keeps on coming whenever avian influenza is in news. Second, the disease caused by H5N1 virus has a lower mortality rate in humans than the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. Basically, like, whenever the bird flu affects a human being, it has more mortality rate in humans. Means there was recently a study was published. In that study it was mentioned that out of the 100 people who were affected by bird flu, 52 of them has died. Okay, 52 persons have died. It means its mortality is more than 50%. However, in case of coronavirus, the mortality is not as high as in case of bird flu. So that's why second statement is wrong. Third, it says there are several vaccines available to control the spread of H5N1 virus. This statement is also right. Okay, and whenever this avian influenza is detected in certain kind of bird species, maybe in chicken also, so many a times the government notifies culling of these animals. Culling means killing of these animals in mass. Okay, so that, I mean, like, they do not affect, right? They do not affect human beings. Animals means like, chicken, bird species. So first and third are right. So only 2 of the above are correct, first and third. So with this, let us quickly move to the third question also. So I would like to share the information that we have given detailed let's say solution or explanation to each question, and you can find these detailed explanation in the description of the YouTube video. Now let us talk about next question. It says consider the following statements. They have given 2 statements. Number 1, gamma ray bursts. Okay, here they are talking about gamma ray burst. What do we mean by this? So basically what happens whenever massive stars collapse, right? Like let's say like neutron stars collapse. So this leads to a kind of burst, right? And that burst is known as gamma ray burst. Okay, the gamma ray burst are the most energetic type of burst that can be seen in the universe. So they have given 2 statements. Number 1, gamma ray burst are the most energetic explosions in the universe, emitting vast amounts of gamma ray radiation. This statement is generally correct. It is correct. Second, gamma ray burst mainly occur during the collapse of massive stars and the merge of neutron stars. Both these statements are correct. Okay, so both these statements are correct, and the second is the correct explanation of first. Why? Because how the gamma ray burst happen? It happens because of collapse of massive stars or the merger of neutron stars. Whenever it happens, it leads to gamma ray burst, and it releases huge amount of gamma ray radiation, and it releases huge amount of energy, right? Which is much within a second it can release very huge amount of energy that may not be released by the sun in, let's say, like millions of years. That's why gamma ray bursts are considered to be, let's say, most energetic explosions in the universe. Okay, so these things are related to the cosmic phenomena. Okay, now let us quickly move to another question, question number 64. So it says consider the following examples. Here they have given 3 examples, and they are asking us in how many of the above examples the principle of heat transfer is involved. Okay, so where heat is transferred, we need to identify those examples. Number 1, it says geothermal energy extraction for power generation. Okay, so we know geothermal energy means like we are using the energy or heat of the earth, right? So energy, geothermal energy, using geothermal energy, basically let's say we can generate power, we can generate electricity. So here the principle of heat transfer is involved in first statement. Second, thermocouples, okay, used in temperature measurement. So here thermocouples are sensors. Here transfer of heat does not happen. Basically thermocouple, you can consider it to be an instrument that can sense the difference in temperature. So the thing is like if there are 2 metals, let's consider metal 1 and metal 2 on, let's say, either side, and so like they will detect what is the temperature in metal 1, what is the temperature in metal 2. So thermocouples are able to detect the variation in temperature. Let's consider if temperature 1 is less than temperature 2. So in that case, the thermocouple will be able to identify that, like, this has higher temperature, but heat is actually not transferring to the sensor. Okay, so that's why heat transfer is not associated over here. It says cooking food using a microwave oven. Here it may seem like heat transfer is happening, but the thing is, like, if we talk about microwave oven, okay, over here what is happening basically, I mean, like, microwaves are they are emitting electromagnetic waves. What? They are emitting electromagnetic waves, right? They are emitting electromagnetic waves in what? They are emitting electromagnetic waves in microwave format. I mean, like, if we see the electromagnetic spectrum, we do have, let's say, frequencies, various frequencies of waves, and they are named differently. So microwave is, let's say, a specific range of frequency in the electromagnetic spectrum. So they release this, I mean, like, radiation, and these radiation actually, let's say, like, heat up the water molecule inside the container, and since water molecules are heated up, so random energy increases and they collapse with one another, and that leads to the cooking of the fuel. However, heat is actually not transferring from the microwave to the to the container or to the food. Within the container itself, let's say, like, water molecules gets warmed up. So actual heat transfer is not happening, right, from microwave. Only electromagnetic waves are being generated. So second and third statements are wrong, only first one is right. So only in this particular example heat transfer is happening. Okay, in other examples heat transfer is not happening. So with this, now let us move to another question. It says consider the following pairs. They have given pairs. On one side they have mentioned the name of the malwares. Malwares means malicious softwares. On the other side they have mentioned their characteristics. Okay, means, like, maybe their details, definition is mentioned on the right side. So here they have mentioned Trojan. Okay, Trojan, worm, virus, these are malicious softwares. We are talking about computer softwares, malicious softwares. So let us see Trojan. So Trojan, this is the definition of Trojan. So it disguises itself as legitimate software to deceive users to downloading it. Basically, let's consider from the internet you download various kinds of softwares. Let's say tomorrow you want to download a specific software. You will search it in the internet. You will come across a link. Here they will mention that this is the name of the software. If you download that software, considering that it is the actual software, but the thing is, like, only it resembles the actual software, it is not the actual software, that is known as Trojan software. Okay, they resemble like actual softwares, but they are not actual softwares, they are actually malicious softwares. I mean, like, once you download, once you install this thing, a virus enters, I mean, like, virus program or malicious program enters your computer, and then it may automatically run your system, it may block your system, it may do n number of activities in your system. Okay, so the thing is, first one is not matched with the first. If we talk about worm, this is the, let's say, like, information about worm. Worm is a standalone program that can self-replicate and spread independently. Okay, this is the thing. So this one is this one is this. So they are not correctly matched. However, if we talk about virus, okay, virus attaches itself to another software and reproduces it when the software is run. That is known as a virus. And how many of the above are matched correctly? Only one. Correct answer is option A. Only one is matched. Okay, this is the thing. So basically these are different type of malicious softwares. There are many other malicious softwares that have been in news also. Now let us move to another question. This question talks about chipped pulse amplification. What? Chipped pulse amplification. Technique is commonly associated with which one of the following? Increasing the power of ultra-short laser, boosting the signal strength, increasing the range of detection of radars, amplifying the loudness of the sound bars. The correct answer is this thing. Basically, what do we mean by ultra short laser? Laser, we know laser is a light, monochromatic light, means like it is of single color. We might have used the laser light like red colored light. You just turn on the light and like it goes to a longer duration. So here when we talk about ultra short lasers, I mean like laser light that is generated for a very short duration. So that laser is amplified, okay? Amplified means its amplitude is, its strength or its power is increased. So generally when we talk about chipped pulse amplification, it amplifies the laser light to the tune of 10 raised to power 15 watts. 10 raised to power 15 watts means, it means petawatts, okay? It means to the tune of petawatts, means like it can, this particular method, chipped pulse amplification method, it can increase the power of ultra short laser light to the tune of 10 raised to power 15 watts or petawatts, which is a very high value, very high quantity, okay? That's the thing, okay? So it is used for increasing the power of ultra short laser. In fact, in the year of 2018, when in 2018 a scientist was awarded with Nobel Prize, okay? A scientist was awarded with Nobel Prize in Physics. Nobel Prize in Physics. For what purpose? For the purpose of producing chipped pulse amplification, okay? So a scientist was awarded Nobel Prize in 2018 for this purpose, okay? Correct answer is option A. So with this, let us quickly move to another question. This is question number 67. Let's discuss about this question. It says, consider the following statements. So we have two statements, okay? So it says statement 1. So basically this particular question is from biology or biotechnology. You need to remember that this question is from biology, or we can say from biotechnology, okay? The previous question was from physics, okay? But this is from biology or biotechnology. It says Y chromosomes are generally referred to as dark matter of the genome. Dark matter of the genome. This statement is right. I am going to help you understand why this statement is right, okay? Second, it is difficult to sequence Y chromosomes because of its unique pattern in the sequence. This statement is wrong, okay? So let us understand about this factor, okay? So the thing is, let's say this is a cell. In the cell, at the center, we have something which is known as nucleus, okay? We have nucleus of the cell. So inside the nucleus, we find DNA and we also find RNA. Although RNA can be found outside the nucleus also, okay? We find DNA and RNA. So basically DNA and RNA are, and here inside the cell itself we find chromosomes, okay? We find chromosomes, okay? Chromosomes. So when we talk about human beings, in human beings we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. How many? 23 pairs of chromosomes, which means 46 let's say chromosomes, okay? 46 chromosomes in human beings, right? The 23rd pair, the last pair, 23rd pair actually helps us to determine the sex, right? So they are, let's say like they carry genetic information, and the 22 pairs, the remaining 22 pairs, they are known as autosomes. They are known as autosomes because they do have identical replica of one another. So they have identical replica of one another, okay? Means like there will be pairs, same looking pair. The 23rd pair can be XX or it can be XY, okay? In case of human beings, XX represents females and XY represent males. That's the thing, okay? So the thing is, inside the nucleus we have chromosomes, and some chromosomes are known as Y chromosomes. What? They are known as Y chromosomes, and these Y chromosomes represent they are similar to the DNA. Which DNA? The Y chromosomes are similar to junk DNA. Junk DNA. The DNA, I mean, like, that has gone junk. It is similar to junk DNA. Since it is similar to junk DNA means like the DNA which is going to be, which is going to be junk, or which is not going to be used, right, for productive purposes. So it resembles this one. That's why the Y chromosomes are known as dark matter, right, of the genome. What is genome? Basically, genome is complete set of all genetic information in an individual, maybe in case of human being also. Okay, this is the thing. First statement is right. Second statement, it says it is difficult to sequence Y chromosomes. This part of the statement is right up to this part. However, it says because of its unique pattern. It does not have unique pattern. Basically, it has palindromic pattern. Palindromic means like, repeated sequences. I mean, like repeated same letter. We know, in case of DNA, we have bases. They are known as ATGC, adenine, thymine, guanine and cytosine. In case of RNA, we have AUGC, right, adenine, uracil, right, guanine and cytosine, like that. Okay, so this is the thing. So basically they have palindromic, they are palindromic. Okay, when we talk about Y chromosomes, they are palindromic. Palindromic means repetition of similar letters, similar sequences. They are not unique. If it would have been unique, it must have been easy to identify. Since they are not unique, they are repeated, so it's not easy to identify them. Okay, this is the thing. So their sequencing is not that easy. So first statement is correct, second statement is incorrect. So in that case, the correct answer is, let's say, option C. Option C is the right answer. So with this, let us now move to question number 68. If in case, let's say, if I am going a little fast, in that case, you can repeat the video. You can, let's say, listen it once again to understand it more. And also we have uploaded the, let's say, explanation of each question in the description of the YouTube video. You can go through that. Then we have another question. It says with reference to air defense systems. This question is from defense technology. Okay, remember, this question is from defense technology. All right. So it says, with reference to air defense system, consider the following statements. They have given two statements. One is exo-atmospheric air defense is more sophisticated than endo-atmospheric air defense. This statement is wrong. I'll make you understand why it is so. Air defense systems are more effective in intercepting ballistic missiles than cruise missiles. This is right. Okay. It means only statement second is right. Okay. Now let us discuss about this. Okay. Now, let's say this is the earth. This is the earth. As we know, earth has an envelope of gas over it. It has an envelope of gas. Okay. This envelope of gas is known as atmosphere of the earth. Okay. So this is the atmosphere of the earth. Right. This is atmosphere of the earth. So the thing is, up to certain kilometer where the air density is high, this is known as endo-atmosphere. What? This is known as endo-atmosphere. The region where the air density is very low or outside the atmosphere, this is known as exo-atmosphere. Right? This is known as exo-atmosphere. Now here we need to understand that there are different types of missiles. One type of missile is known as ballistic missile. What? One type of missile is known as ballistic missile. and the other type of missile is known as cruise missile. What? Ballistic missile and cruise missile. When we talk about ballistic missile, right, when we talk about ballistic missile follows a trajectory like this. Trajectory means path like this. Once it is launched, right, it follows a parabolic path. Okay, so initially we set the range. This distance is known as range. I mean, like, the horizontal range, whatever is the distance. Initially we set the range, and then we calculate at what angle it needs to be launched. So after it is launched, generally we lose control on it. After we launch it, it follows this trajectory and finally falls down. Okay, finally falls down. So let's say, like, from one country, let's say from North Korea, something is launched, it goes to United States of America. So generally ballistic missiles go very high up in the atmosphere. Okay, maybe it go outside the atmosphere also. It goes very high and then it finally falls down over there. So its trajectory can be identified. So missile defense systems, the work of the missile defense system is to protect your territory from any missile attack. So they will be capable of identifying that a missile is coming from this direction. So they can intercept this missile, they can destroy this missile on the air itself. However, when we talk about cruise missiles, what happens? Cruise missiles generally follow a lower path. I mean, like, let's say we have launched it from here, it will follow like this and then it will fall down. Means, like, within 50 kilometer range from the surface, right, it will move and then it will strike a target. So the second difference, I mean, like, first difference is ballistic missile has a very long range, right? Cruise missiles has a very short range. Ballistic missile travel high, follow a definite path. Cruise missiles does not follow a definite path. I mean, like, the person who is launching the cruise missile, he can have control on the direction of the cruise missile. Okay, so it is easier for the missile defense system to identify ballistic missiles and also destroy them on the way. But interception of cruise missiles becomes very difficult, and also cruise missiles are coated with certain kind of elements so that, I mean, like, it goes undetected, it is not detected. Okay, so this is the thing. So ballistic missiles are the ones that may go in the exo atmosphere also. Let's say it is launched from here, it may let's say, like, it is launched from here, ballistic missiles, and it goes over here like that. So its identification will be easy. So, like, it does not require very sophisticated equipments. I mean, like, but in case of cruise missiles, its detection requires more sophisticated equipments, means like more complex equipments like that. Okay, so that's why first statement was incorrect, and so second statement is correct. It says air defense systems are more effective in intercepting ballistic missiles than cruise missiles. Okay, so that's why only second statement is correct in this case. So with this, let us move to another question, question number 69. Okay, this says, with reference to multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle, MIRV technology. Remember, this MIRV technology was in news this year because DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, has tested the MIRV technology from one island, right? It is known as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island, and this island is located, let's say, nearby the coast of Odisha. So using MIRV technology, multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle, we can launch huge number of missiles at the same time. More than one missile can be launched at the same time, and these have, let's say, warheads that are smaller in size. When we talk about ballistic missiles, they have big warheads, I mean, like, the explosion material. In case of MIRV technology, more number of missiles can be launched in shorter duration of time, or at the same time having shorter warheads, smaller warheads. So now let us understand about these statements. Number one, it allows launching of multiple warheads to possibly evade the missile defense system of the enemy. Okay, it allows launching of multiple warheads, okay, to possibly evade missile defense system of the enemy. Okay, I mean, like if enemy has a missile defense system, so I mean, so they may be able to intercept certain number of missiles per minute, but using this technology you can launch multiple missiles at the same time, so it will be able to, let's say, evade the missile defense technology of the enemy. Okay, this is the thing. Other than this, the warheads used in fully functional MIRB enabled missiles are generally smaller than those in conventional missiles. This is also right, I have discussed about it. Third, India has become the first country in Asia to demonstrate this technology. This statement is wrong. Okay, why? Because India is not the first country, India is the third country. Third country. What are the other countries? Number one, let's say Russia already has MIRB technology. China already has MIRB technology. Okay, so India is the third country, not the first country. So with this, let us move to the next question. This question with reference to deployment of airbags. Okay, so this is observational technology, a technology that you observe on a day-to-day life. Okay, so it says with reference to deployment of airbags in case of collision of vehicles, consider the following statements. They have given two statements. Number one, gyroscope or gyroscope is used as a sensor to detect collision of vehicle. This is not gyroscope, this is known as accelerometer. Okay, accelerometer is used as sensor to detect the collision of vehicle. Let's say on the road, vehicles are moving, accelerometers are able to understand what is the speed, what is the acceleration of the vehicle, at which rate the vehicle is moving. So it will be able to detect collision of the vehicle. If vehicle collides, okay, in that case what happens? Suddenly the motion will come into a rest. It was moving, it will come into a rest. So accelerometer is used. What is then this gyrometer or gyroscope? Basically gyroscope is used in aeroplanes. It is used in, let's say, mobile phones. In mobile phones people play video game like this, they keep on moving like this. Okay, so it helps us to identify inclination of the mobile phone. Inclination means the directional information of the mobile phone, but here when we talk about collision, it is about, let's say, change in the speed of the vehicle. Okay, this is the thing. The airbags are filled with oxygen gas to protect the occupants of the vehicle. This is wrong. Why? Because oxygen gas is highly reactive. In case of, let's say, collision, generally, let's say, engines may also get affected, fuel tanks may get affected, so it catches fire, and oxygen is a combustible gas. Okay, oxygen catches fire very soon, so that's why oxygen gas is not used. We use nitrogen gas. Okay, so the thing is, like, they are not filled with oxygen gas, they are filled with nitrogen gas, because nitrogen gas, if we talk about N2, right, N2 means between two nitrogen there are triple bonds which make nitrogen very strong, and nitrogen do not get combusted. Okay, nitrogen is a kind of non-reactive gas. Non-reactive means, like, it does not catches fire easily. So both these statements are wrong, means like neither one nor two. Okay, so this is the thing. So with this, we have discussed all the questions from science and technology section. All right, so thank you so much everyone for attending this session. Please stay back, there will be discussion by another faculty also. Thank you so much. Hello everyone. So today I am going to take the discussion of the current affairs question of the Panchsutra Test-2. So basically we have 15 questions from the current affairs section today. I am going to take the discussion of all these questions one by one. So the first question, this particular question is based on Konark Sun Temple. Okay, so here they have given some information about the Konark Sun Temple. So here they say the replica of the Konark wheel served as the backdrop when the Prime Minister of India welcomed G20 leaders at the Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi during the G20 summit. So they have given, let's say, like, few statements, 4 statements related to Konark Sun Temple. So when we talk about Konark Sun Temple, where is it located? It is located in the state of Odisha. Okay, so it is located in the state of Odisha, and this particular temple is also known as Black Pagoda. What it is known as? It is known as Black Pagoda. Why it is known as Black Pagoda? Because I mean, like, when travelers used to visit that portion of India in Odisha, so this particular temple used to be a landmark for them. It looks like, black color during the night sky, so that's why they have named it as Black Pagoda. Okay, and apart from this particular temple has been built in let's say one of the form of Nagara style of temple architecture. Let us read these statements and then we will identify which statements are correct and which statements are not correct. So here they are asking how many of the above statements are correct. First one, it says it was built in the 13th century by King Anantavarman of the Shodagna or Shodagna dynasty. This information is wrong because this particular temple has been built by the King Narsimha Deva I of Eastern Ganga dynasty. Which king? King Narsimha Deva. Let me write it over here. Okay, so this was developed by King Narsimha Deva I. Okay, Narsimha Deva I of Eastern Ganga dynasty. Okay, Eastern Ganga dynasty. So this temple has been built in the 13th century. I mean, like, it was built in 1250 CE. Okay, so this is the thing. So first statement is wrong because the name of the king and the dynasty is mentioned incorrectly here. When we talk about the second statement, it says it is built in the Kalinga style of architecture, which is a subset of the Nagara style of temple architecture. Okay, Kalinga is associated with Odisha itself. Okay, so this is the thing. Second statement is right. Third statement, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This statement is right. Okay, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Fourth statement, the temple was called White Pagoda. It is not called White Pagoda. It was called, let's say, Black Pagoda. So that's why only second and third statements are correct. It means correct answer will be only 2. Option B is the right answer. So with this, let us now move to the next question. This question talks about a statue of oneness. This particular statue was in news this year. Okay, it was in news in 2023, in fact. Okay, so it says a statue of oneness of Adi Shankaracharya has been unveiled at Omkareshwar, Madhya Pradesh. Which of the following statements correctly describes the philosophy propounded by Adi Shankaracharya? So basically, Adi Shankaracharya is one of the, let's say, philosophers associated with Indian schools of philosophy. He has talked about Advaita Vedanta. What? Advaita Vedanta. Okay, so it's, let's say, one sub school of the Vedanta school, and he said, like, there is no difference between Atma and Paramatma. Okay, so he says Atma and Brahman are the same. Okay, Atma and Brahman are the same. I mean, like, if you know that Atma and Brahman are the same, so you will not be, let's say, staying in a state of illusion. So it says Atma and Brahma are the same, and knowing this difference causes liberation. Okay, so, like, we need to liberate our souls, right? We need to, let's say, like, achieve liberation. For this, you need to understand this particular thing, and Atma and Brahma are the same. So this was propounded by Adi Shankaracharya, and let's say statue of oneness is a very tall statue that has been, let's say, recently unveiled by the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, I mean, like, in Omkareshwar. Why? Because, like, when Adi Shankaracharya was around 14 years old, so then he had visited Omkareshwar. Okay, so that's why his, let's say, statue was recently unveiled, and there are some important information related to Adi Shankaracharya. One of the information is, let's say, He provided the framework for understanding of non-dualistic nature of reality. Okay, and he has authored around 160 works, including commentaries on Upanishads like Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita. He promoted Bhakti movement. He emphasized the importance of devotion and surrender to the God. Okay, and so there are 4 mats in let's say one in Dwarka, Gujarat, other in Joshi Mat, Uttarakhand, Puri in Odisha, and Sringeri in Karnataka. They serve as religious shrines, temples, libraries, and residences. They play a crucial role. So these all things are associated with, let's say, Adi Shankaracharya. Okay, so Adi Shankaracharya has been in news last year and this year also. That's why it is important. Correct answer is option B. So with this, let us move to next question. Question number 3, or in our discussion, it is question number 33. So it says, consider the following statements. So these statements are related to UN World Tourism Organization. Okay, so certain information are there. The first thing, the United Nations World Tourism Organization was established in 1975 for the promotion of responsible, sustainable, and universally accessible tourism. This statement is right. This is a factually correct information. Second, it is headquartered in Madrid, Spain. This is also right. It does have, let's say, like, other offices, regional offices, but headquarter is in Spain, Madrid. So it says Dhodo in Rajasthan. So basically Dhodo is not a place in Rajasthan. This place is in Gujarat. Okay, this place is in Gujarat. And Madla in Madhya Pradesh have been identified among the best tourism villages. Third statement is wrong. Okay, so only first and second statements are right. Correct answer will be option B. Okay, so you can see the details, further details about this particular organization in the PDF that has been uploaded in the YouTube video description. Now let us talk about this particular question. This question is related to a body that has been established by the Parliament of India. And this body is responsible for, let's say, promoting research in the country. Okay, research and development in the country. So it says, consider the following statements about Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Okay, in short it is known as NRF, Anusandhan National Research Foundation. So it says it is set up under the law passed by the Parliament. This is right. It has been in news. Second, it will be an apex body to provide high level strategic direction of scientific research in the country. Okay, it is going to provide direction towards scientific research. Also, it is going to support those scientific research through funding. Okay, it's going to pool private sector funding from the government also. It's going to, let's say, engage with multiple stakeholders to pool funds so that, like, research and development can be promoted in the country. Now third statement says the Union Education Minister. It is not Education Minister, it is Union Minister for Science and Technology will be the apex ex officio president of its governing body. So third statement is wrong because it is not Education Minister, it is Minister of Science and Technology. Minister of Science and Technology is the right answer. Okay, so that's why third statement is wrong. Fourth statement, the Department of Science and Technology will be its administrative department. This is right. Although this body is going to act independently, this body is going to be an autonomous body, but, like, Department of Science and Technology is a department which will be coordinating with this body or administrating some portion of this body. Okay, so fourth is also right. So how many of the above are correct? Only 3. C is the right answer. Okay, in this particular question. Now let us move to next question, question number, let's say, 35. This is the 5th question in our discussion. Okay, so it says, consider the following pairs. On one side, we have been given names of certain government schemes like PM Janman, PM Namaste, PM Suraj. On the right side, they have mentioned the objectives of these schemes. So you might have come across these schemes this year and in 2023, right? Because these schemes were in news. Number 1, PM Janman. So PM Janman is for the welfare of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. You must be knowing that in India we have 75 recognized particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Okay, so PM Janman is an scheme for the welfare of particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Okay, so this PVTGs, this word must come over here. However, let's say like this is correctly matched. Second one, PM Namaste. PM Namaste is an scheme which is, let's say, like for the safety of the sanitation workers. Okay, what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you the full name of these schemes also. Okay, PM Namaste. What do we mean by PM Namaste? PM Namaste means National Action for Mechanized Sanitation Ecosystem Scheme. Okay, so this is for safety of the sanitation workers. When we talk about PM Suraj, right, this scheme is not for harnessing solar energy. Suraj stands for Pradhan Mantri Samajik Utthan Evam Rojgar Adhikarit Jan Kalyan scheme. Okay, so this is from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Its aim is to uplift the most marginalized section of the society and provide credit assistance to 1 lakh entrepreneurs from the disadvantaged communities. Okay, it is for assisting or helping the marginalized communities. Okay, so that's the thing. So third statement is wrong. First and second are correctly matched. So how many of them are incorrectly matched? Now they are asking how many of them are incorrectly matched. Incorrectly matched is only one. It means this one will be the right answer. I mean like only one. A is the right answer. Remember, they are asking how many of them are incorrectly matched. 2 are correctly matched, 1 is incorrectly matched. So that's why option will be option A. So with this, now let us move to another question. This is question number 36. It says consider the following statements about European Free Trade Association. What? European Free Trade Association. So we have been given 4 statements, right, related to this association. Remember that this particular association was in news this year. Why? Because India has signed an agreement, free trade agreement with this association. Okay. So let us read the statements one by one. Number 1, it says it was established in 1960 by the Stockholm Convention. This statement is right. Second, it currently has 5 member countries which include Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, but not Sweden. Okay. So it has currently 4 member countries. How many? 4 members. Okay, 4 members. Which 4 members? Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. Sweden is not a member of it. Okay, so that's why second statement is wrong. Third statement, among the European Free Trade Association countries, among the EFTA countries, Switzerland is the largest trading partner of India, followed by Norway. This statement is also right. Fourth, India and EFTA have recently signed Free Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. This is also right. Okay. Only the second statement is wrong, which is related to the members. Okay. Otherwise, all the 3 other statements are right. Means how many of them are correct? Only 3. First, third and fourth. They are correctly matched. So with this, now let us move to another question. Question number 37. It says, consider the following statements about International Court of Justice. Remember, International Court of Justice was in news last year also, this year also. One of the primary reason was that South Africa has moved the International Court of Justice against the human rights violation by the Israel in Palestine or in Gaza Strip, right? And also apart from this, this particular body was in news for many other purposes. Okay, so that's why it is very important that you learn about International Court of Justice. You learn about, let's say, difference between International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court. And in fact, you should also learn about, let's say, Permanent Court of Arbitration, in short, which is known as PCA. So ICC, ICJ and PCA, you need to learn about it. Okay. So this question is related to International Court of Justice. International Court of Justice is considered to be world court. This court has been established under the UN Charter. Okay, so in the UN Charter they have mentioned that International Court of Justice will be established. Okay, so now they have given few statements related to it. It says it is composed of 15 judges elected to 9-year terms of office by the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council. Yes, this information is absolutely correct. Okay, it has 15 judges and they are elected for a term of 9 years of office, and they are elected by the United Nations General Assembly, United Nations Security Council. Okay, elected, in fact they are chosen by these members. Second, 1/3 of the total judges are elected every 3 years. Definitely this is, I mean, like, every 3 year they hold elections, and every 3 year they elect 5 members. Okay, 1/3 means total 15, 1/3 will be 5 members. Every 3 years they elect 5 members. Okay, it says judges are not eligible for re-election. This statement is wrong because they are eligible for re-election. The president and the vice president are elected by the members of the court every 3 years by a secret ballot. Okay, so in the court the members themselves elect the president and vice president of the court. First, second and fourth statement are correct, third is incorrect. So how many of the above statements are correct? Only 3. Correct answer is option C. Now let us move to another question. The term laundromat countries seen in the media refer to, okay, nations that are famous destination for money laundering, nations that are facing sanctions by the United Nations, nations that purchase refinery products which are processed from Russian oil, nations which purchase Russian oil and export processed refinery products to European countries. This is right. Okay, laundromat countries, basically recently a report has been released by an organization, and that report says that there are few countries that are, let's say, like purchasing Russian oil. They are purchasing Russian oil and they are refining that oil and then selling those oil in European Union and also G7 countries. Okay, so it is selling in European Union and G7 countries, right? So these countries have been named as laundromat. What do we mean by laundromat? Laundromat means oil laundering countries. Okay, we know what do we mean by money laundering. Similarly, oil laundering. Okay, those countries that are doing oil laundering, they are, let's say, purchasing oil from Russia, processing it and selling at higher prices to European Union and G7 countries. And in fact, in the report they have mentioned name of 5 such countries. How many countries? They have mentioned name of 5 such countries that are considered to be laundromat countries. And India is one of the laundromat countries. Okay, how many countries? 5 countries. They are India, China, Singapore, United Arab Emirates and Turkey. India, China, Singapore, United Arab Emirates and Turkey. Okay, so they are considered to be laundromat countries. So correct answer is option D. Okay, this term has been in news, so you need to understand what do we mean by laundromat countries. Now let us move to another topic. It says consider the following statements about global renewables and energy efficiency pledge. Okay, it's a pledge. Pledge means taking some kind of oath. It is similar to oath, it's just a pledge. Okay, it says it is an initiative led by the European Union, United Arab Emirates and the US. This statement is right. It seeks to double the global average annual rate of energy efficiency improvements from around 2% to over 4% every year until 2030. This is also right. Okay, this pledge has been taken by various countries in the Conference of Parties 28, COP28, that has happened in Dubai in 2023. So these pledge was also taken. The pledge is legally binding. It is not legally binding. Okay, it is not legally binding. Fourth, India has signed the pledge. India has not signed the pledge. Okay, so only 2 of the above statements are correct. How many? Only 2. First and second. Third, fourth are not correct. Now let us move to another question. Question number 40. So this will be the 10th question in science and technology, in current affairs. Now let us read this. It says recently Kozhikode, okay, Kozhikode is a place in Kerala. Okay, it's a place in Kerala or a district in Kerala. Okay, Kozhikode and Gwalior were added to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. UNESCO, United Nations, let's say, educational, scientific and cultural organization. So these 2 cities have been added, Kozhikode and Gwalior, right, in UNESCO Creative Cities Network for their creativeness in which of the following fields? Literature and music. Okay, so Kozhikode has been added for literature, Gwalior has been added for music. And Gwalior is associated with Tansen. We know the great musician Tansen. Okay, so he was present in Gwalior. Okay, so Gwalior Gharana you might have heard about. So it is a part of Hindustani classical music. Okay, when we talk about Kozhikode, Kozhikode is a city that hosts huge number of literary festivals. And in fact, let's say one of the literary festival that Kozhikode holds, it is one of the largest in the country, not only in India but in South Asia. So that's why Kozhikode has been included in the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. So these two cities have been recently added by the UNESCO in their list. Okay, earlier from India various other cities have been added, but these two are new entrants from India. So they have included, let's say, huge number of cities in this particular list. If I talk about number of cities that they have included 55 new cities and 2 cities were from India. Okay, so this is the thing. So with this, let us now move to the next question. It says, consider the following countries. Here we have been given name of few countries, 6 countries. It says, how many of the above mentioned countries share their border with the Black Sea? Here Black Sea term is important. Okay, Black Sea has been mentioned in news many a times. Why? Because Ukraine and Russia are in a state of warfare since 2022. Black Sea Grain Initiative, let's say a bridge on the Black Sea, so it has been attacked. Black Sea Grain Initiative has been, let's say, curtailed, or let's say Russia has come out of that initiative. So here they are asking about the countries that border the Black Sea. Okay, which countries border? So basically from this list, Armenia does not border. Georgia is there, Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria, Russia, and plus Ukraine. Ukraine also borders Black Sea. Okay, Ukraine borders, but not Armenia. Okay, so 6 countries border Black Sea, that includes Ukraine also and all other countries in the list except Armenia. So how many of the above mentioned countries share their border with Black Sea? Only 5. What you need to do in your free time, search on Google Black Sea, see our image and identify the name of the countries that border Black Sea. Okay, so for our discussion I have not included a map related to it. Okay, but you can do it yourself. Next question, question number 87. What it says, which of the following countries are members of both the NATO Plus and the 5 Eyes grouping? Okay, Australia and New Zealand. Now, we know what is NATO, or NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a collective security organization. So if we talk about NATO plus means NATO members plus some additional members. I mean additional, there are 5 members. So these members, NATO plus, includes those who are members of NATO or they have significant relations with NATO members. Okay, that is NATO plus. And what is 5 Eyes? 5 Eyes, it's a kind of defense alliance, intelligence alliance of 5 countries. What I am going to do is I am going to take the name of those countries that are part of NATO plus. We know what are the name of the countries that are part of NATO. NATO plus includes, let's say, some additional countries. I am going to tell the name of those countries. NATO plus includes, let's say, 5 additional countries that includes Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Israel and South Korea. Okay, Australia, New Zealand, okay, Japan, Israel and South Korea. Okay, and if we talk about this 5 Eyes alliance, it was in news because, let's say, you might have seen the news between Canada and India. Okay, there was a tussle. So there was a person who was killed in Canada and he was a Khalistani supporter. So Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada has accused the Prime Minister of India or Government of India for its involvement in killing of a person in the Canadian soil. Okay, so that's why, let's say, 5 Eyes alliance was in news because the Canadian Prime Minister seemed to have got the intelligence information from the 5 Eyes alliance, and even the United States of America has persuaded India to join this alliance, 5 Eyes alliance. I'm going to take the name of those alliance, right? It includes Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom and United States. Okay, so this is the thing. So these 2 countries are common in NATO plus and 5 Eyes alliance. Now let us move to another question. It says, Consider the following pairs. On one side we have refugee camps and on the other side we have name of the countries. Okay, these refugee camps have been in news. So Adre is located in Chad. Okay, and if we talk about this Kutupalong, it is in Bangladesh. It is one of the largest refugee camps. Okay, if we talk about Ain al-Hilwa, it is not located in Syria. Okay, so how many of the above pairs are correctly matched? Only two, Adre and Kutupalong. Okay, so these refugee camps have been in news multiple times in the last year. Now let us talk about another question. It says the Management Effectiveness Index, recently mentioned in the news in the context of, right? So this index was in news, Management Effectiveness Index. So evaluation of how well protected areas are managed. Okay, so this is an index. This index actually mentions about how well protected areas. What are protected areas? The national parks, conservation reserves, biological, let's say like diversity parks, or maybe let's say like there are many conservation reserves where flora is protected, fauna is protected. So how well those conservation reserves are managed. So for that, Management Effectiveness Index has been released. Okay, correct answer is option D. So with this, now let us move to another question. Okay, this particular question we are going to discuss about this question. It says, consider the following statements about Paris Olympics 2024. What Paris Olympics 2024? So it says Paris will hold the Summer Olympics for the third time in history. This is right. Break dancing, surfing, climbing and skateboarding will be the new sports categories in this edition. Okay, so how many of them are correct? Both are correct. This is, let's say, related to Paris Olympics 2024. These are the new sports that are added, and Paris will host the Summer Olympics for the third time in history. Okay, this is the thing. So with this, we have discussed all the 15 questions from science and technology, from current affairs section. I had already taken the discussion of the science and technology section. So thank you so much everyone for attending this discussion. I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you.
So good evening. Welcome to the discussion of Panchsutra 2 for economy section. The questions that were asked in the economy section. So quickly we'll go to the questions and we'll see the questions one by one. So the first question is, in the context of economy, which one of the following best describes the term double deflation? So this question consists of the word deflation, but here it talks about GDP deflator. It is not talking about any of the indices like CPI and WPI, rather it is talking about GDP deflator. And if we see the options, a period of 2 consecutive quarters of deflation in the economy resulting in recession. This is incorrect. A period of 2 consecutive quarters of fall in real GDP growth rate. This is also incorrect. A technique to measure gross value added GVA at constant prices by subtracting intermediate consumption from output. This is the correct actually as per the question. So what is the meaning behind this? So we are talking about double deflation. So here it is being asked that when GDP at the real GDP or GDP at constant prices is being calculated, we need to account for deflation at output price as well as input price, and the indices based on which it should be deflated should be CPI based here and input at WPI based, rather than having a single deflation technique or a single GDP deflator. So currently India uses a single GDP deflator, and that leads to anomaly in terms of calculation of real GDP. So that is why this was in news all because there was an issue related to the real GDP. So real GDP in India is considered to be round about, this year it is projected to be round about 8%. But in nominal terms, it has been expected that the GDP would be growing in nominal terms at only 10.5%. So it means that we are actually underestimating, or we can say we are either we are underestimating the nominal GDP or we are overestimating the real GDP, and that was all because we are using a single deflation technique. Rather, we should use double deflation technique to account for the differences in the input cost as well as the output prices. So C is the correct answer. So the 42nd question is, consider the following statements about investment facilitation for development. So first statement is, it is an agreement under the World Bank which aims to create legally binding provisions to facilitate investment flows. This is not being, you can say, talked under World Bank, rather it is under the World Trade Organization. This is incorrect. So World Trade Organization talks about trade, investments and trade in goods, services, investment as well as IPRs. So it is all this investment related measures. So it is under investment, and WTO is that particular organization. India is one of the key supporters of this agreement. This is also incorrect. India and South Africa has actually opposed this particular development. Why? Because India thinks that World Trade Organization should only consider rules for trade, and investment is outside, it should be outside the ambit of the World Trade Organization or WTO mandates. And that is why India and South Africa wants that should not be included within the WTO rules. So these two statements are incorrect. So D would be the correct answer for this. So the 43rd question is, consider the following statements. So it's on statement 1, statement 2 type. Statement 1 says the scope for a contractionary monetary policy. So contractionary can also be said as tight monetary policy, wherein the repo rates or the policy rates are being thought to be increased. Monetary policy in a Goldilocks economy. So we'll see there are certain terminologies. So it's all about the game of terminologies which has come into this question. So the scope for a contractionary monetary policy in a Goldilocks economy is limited. And statement 2 says a Goldilocks scenario in an economy refers to an ideal situation where there is steady growth. So whenever we talk about Goldilocks situation, it talks about steady growth and low inflation. So whenever these two things on the price front and on the growth front, they both combine together and both are more favorable for any economic development, then that particular economy is said to be under, or you can say that particular period is known as Goldilocks period for that economy. So it has been expected, it has been said by many of the international financial institutions like IMF, also World Bank, that India has actually entered a period of Goldilocks post-COVID, post-2020. So India has entered a period of Goldilocks wherein the inflation would be moderate, round about 5%, and growth would also be sustaining at around about 7 to 8%. So within that particular favorable period, the effects of contractionary monetary policy is limited, because why would RBI or central bank try to increase rate? Because whenever monetary policy is being talked about, it is growth and price stability, and on the both front, if the economy is performing well, then there is no need for any increase in repo rates. So the statement becomes correct. And why does this contractionary monetary, the effects of contractionary monetary policy is limited? Why? Because this Goldilocks scenario ensures steady growth along with, you can say, defined price. So price is also stable in terms of inflation rates. So this statement explains as to why the scope of contractionary monetary policy in a Goldilocks economy is limited. So both the statements are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. So A is the correct answer. So the 44th question is, which of the following is not correct? It is not correct about the lead bank scheme. So this particular scheme was introduced in 1969, in the same year when bank nationalization happened, wherein the public sector banks or PSBs were created. So this scheme was all about ensuring financial inclusion. Catering to rural areas with related to banking services. So here one of the bank was given a tag of lead bank that should lead all the financial inclusion, you can say, activities for that particular district. So this was the idea behind lead bank scheme. So we will see the statements as to which of the particular statement is not correct. Its main objective is to expand financial inclusion. This is correct. Obviously, this is the ethos or the idea behind lead bank scheme. Private sector banks are also included as part of the scheme. This is also correct. It is not just restricted to public sector bank, even private sector banks of some of the districts also given this responsibility of becoming the lead bank to usher in all the financial inclusion activities. The Gudgill Study Group and Bankers Committee suggested the scheme. This is also correct. This was formed, or the recommendations were given in 1969. Based on that, the scheme was launched. Districts in metropolitan areas, or you can say highly urban, what is known as metropolitan areas, those tier 1 cities or highly urban areas or those cities are not covered under the scheme. This is incorrect. Earlier, when the scheme started, this was generally limited to those particular districts which were not highly urbanized. But because of the success which was experienced, so this particular scheme was also opened for even metropolitan areas, because even in those metropolitan areas, some of those areas within those urbanized areas do not have those banking facilities, and there comes the role of lead bank. So that is why this particular scheme was also extended in metropolitan areas also. So this becomes the correct answer as per the question, as because this is not correct. So we have been asked as to which of the following statements is not correct. So D is not correct. 45th question says, which of the following best describes the term Buffett indicator? So this is named after one of the biggest of billionaire or the investment banker, that is Warren Buffett. He devised a crude indicator, and that indicator was market capitalization of stock market. The total listed companies on the stock market divided by the nominal GDP of that country. So this is a metric that is crude. It is not, you can say, an official metric that is being gauged. It gives an idea where as to which particular country's stock market is overvalued, par valued or undervalued. If this particular metric goes above 100%, wherein the market capitalization of all the listed companies goes beyond the nominal GDP of that particular country, then that particular country is known as overvalued. If it is equal to 100, par. If it is less than 100%, it is undervalued. So this particular question was taken based on certain developments which have taken place in the capital market. Our stock market has reached, you can say, the 75,000, round about 75,000 mark for Nifty Sensex, and the total market capitalization of all the listed firm on Indian stock market has reached 4 trillion USD. So the market capitalization of Indian stock market is 4 trillion USD and vis-a-vis India's GDP is roughly 3.5 trillion USD. So in a sense, India's stock market or Warren Buffett indicator shows that India's market is overvalued, because 4 upon 3.5 would be more than 100%. So it gives an indicator about that our stock market is overvalued. So it is the market capitalization of listed companies to the GDP of a country. So A is the correct answer. 46th question is, consider the following statements. First we'll see the command. How many of the above can result in decreasing the liquidity in the Indian banking system? It is talking about the commercial banks specifically. Commercial banks or all those things which are considered as banks. So withdrawal of 2000 rupee note from circulation in the market would not have effect on the liquidity in the banking system, because if it is being withdrawn, then similar equal amount is credited in either savings accounts or time deposits. So the liquidity of the system is not disturbed. So this becomes incorrect. Purchase of government security by RBI. So if RBI does this, you can say open market operation wherein it purchases government securities, it releases equivalent amount of liquidity into the banking system. So it increases liquidity. This is also incorrect. Decrease of cash reserve ratio or CRR. So if CRR reduces, it increases money multiplier, because money multiplier is 1 upon CRR. This reduces, money multiplier increases. So this also becomes incorrect. Withdrawal of cash by public during festive season, this would lead to reduction in liquidity in the banking system, because the money would move from the bank accounts to currency with public rather than money with banking deposits, the M1 category. When we talk about M1, so M1 has demand deposits and it also has currency in circulation. So if M1 in a way money is withdrawn from the bank, then the liquidity with the banking system would go down, rather it would go into the cash with public. So only one is correct, as only fourth statement of the fourth condition is correct. So the 47th question is, consider the following statements about the consumption expenditure survey 2022-23. So this has been released recently. So a question was, and it is the most important thing which has been released, because it has been released after a gap of 11 years. So this becomes very important, as to we need to know about certain statistical, you can say derivatives which needs to be accounted for. So expenditure on food item accounts for more than 50% in rural India. It is talking about the combined value for rural areas of India, while it is less than 40% in urban India. So this statement is actually incorrect. In both the areas, rural or urban, it is below 50%. In rural areas, it is 46%. The consumption, the total consumption on food as a proportion of total expenditure, total consumption expenditure, it is 46%, and in urban areas, it is 39%. So in both the areas, it is below 50%. So this statement becomes incorrect. The average monthly per capita consumption expenditure, so monthly per capita consumption expenditure has shown higher growth in rural areas than in urban areas. This is factually correct. So it has increased to rupees round about 2000 rupees for rural India. Average monthly per capita expenditure, consumption expenditure, and rupees 3300 round about this for urban India. But if we compare it with the last data, the 2011-12 data, increase in rural India is more than 40%, but increase in urban India is round about 30%. So we can say as a derivative or the analysis based on the data, the rural consumption has recorded even higher growth rate as compared to the last consumption expenditure survey, vis-a-vis the same effects in the urban India. So this becomes correct. And if we see the third statement, amongst the states, Gujarat has the highest average MPC for both rural and urban India. This is incorrect, it is Sikkim. So first becomes incorrect, second becomes incorrect, first and third becomes incorrect, and only second statement is correct. So only one is the correct answer, as second statement is only correct. 48th question is, despite the RBI adopting the contractionary monetary policy, again the repos increasing, tight monetary policy, to curb inflation, sometime inflation may not come down due to. So if we see, RBI has this monetary policy committee and it gauges consumer price index. So if we say the monetary policy transmission, it is more, we can say, justified for demand pull inflation. So for demand pull inflation, the transmission of monetary policy, even if the contractionary monetary policy is being adopted to curb inflation, it would be more effective if the inflation is being, you can say, caused by demand pull effects. So also whatsoever are the factors behind those demand pull inflation would be incorrect as per the questions, as we are being talked about, which may not come down. So how those things can be ineffective? If the inflation is being, you can say, caused by cost push inflation. So at the supply side, if the inflation is at the supply side, then monetary policy committee's decision as to increasing the repo rates for contractionary effects would be lesser. The effects would be lesser if the inflation is being caused by the supply factors or the cost push inflation. So we'll see if whether those statements or those conditions, whether it is demand pull. If it is demand pull, then it won't be the correct answer. Inflation being caused by high demand of imported finished goods. So if there is the inflation in high inflation in imported finished goods, it would be demand pull inflation. So this would be incorrect as per the conditions of the question. Inflation being caused by high disposable income of individual, again demand pull inflation. This also becomes incorrect. Inflation being caused by production of more goods in the economy. So if there is more supply of goods, the prices of goods go down. It is rather an absurd statement because it would reduce inflation altogether. There is no talk of any contractionary monetary policy being adopted if the supply increases. Then the last statement is inflation being caused by supply side bottlenecks. This is the idea. So if the supply side bottlenecks create inflation, it becomes supply side inflation. Then the monetary policy committee, if they adopt contractionary policy, it won't be as effective as compared to demand side inflation. So D is the correct answer. 49th question is, for policy making, real GDP numbers are looked at rather than nominal GDP numbers. This is correct. Real GDP numbers eliminate any distortion caused by price because it is inflation adjusted, but it does not, you can say, discount for any base effect. So what is base effect? If there is higher value in the preceding year. So the base, this is the denominator and this is numerator. So this base gets, you can say, distorted. So this distortion due to base effect can happen within, you can say, real GDP calculation also, even nominal GDP calculation also. So real GDP numbers do not account for adjustment in base effects, although they account for adjustment in price movement. So this becomes incorrect. So first is correct, second is incorrect, C is the correct answer. 50th question is, it talks about the sovereign green bonds. So this type of bond is all about, you can say, the government is borrowing for funding climate or environment related projects. So if they are issuing sovereign green bonds, it generally has lower yield rates. The offer on the bonds or the debt is offered at a lower rates. Why? Because it is being funded for green projects, and the difference between the yield on normal conventional bonds, normal government securities, and yield on sovereign green bonds, the difference is known as greenium or green premium. So green premium is not higher yield on sovereign green bond, it is rather lower yield which is taken, which is accepted by investors. Why? Because why they are ready to accept lower yield or lower rate of return on the sovereign green bonds? Because they feel that these bonds are specifically funding, you can say, environmental and climate related projects, and it is expected that the cost of funding for those projects should be lower. So they are ready to forego additional, you can say, return on the debt that they are giving. So this becomes greenium. So they are government debts that are specifically earmarked to finance environmentally sustainable projects. This is correct. They are generally having higher yield than conventional G-Secs or government securities. This is incorrect. They are having lower yield. Foreign institutional investors have been allowed to invest in them. This is also correct. They cannot be treated as part of the SLR. They can be treated. This is incorrect, because if the bank needs to buy, they need to maintain the SLR quota, they can also go for these sovereign green bonds. So this becomes incorrect. So out of it, only two statements are correct. B is the correct answer. 91st question is, in the context of startup, consider the following statements. India is the second largest ecosystem for startups globally, not second largest, it is the third largest after US and United Kingdom or England. So this becomes incorrect. India is yet to have a decacorn. Decacorn means those having the market valuation of more than 10 billion USD. So this is incorrect, because there are many startups like Swiggy, Flipkart, which have achieved this decacorn status. So this is also incorrect. The turnover of a startup in India should not exceed rupees 100 crore if it wants to avail benefits under Startup India scheme. This is correct, factually correct. So out of it, only third statement is correct, or only one statement is correct. So A is the correct answer. So these are certain factual questions that you need to be aware about. If it becomes difficult to attempt this, then you can skip also, because you have seen in the past that the cutoffs have been hovering around about 75 to 80. So don't go overboard and try to solve those things which you do not know. Consider the following statements about shell companies. So they are non-functional firms defined under the Companies Act. So this part of the statement is correct. So they are genuinely non-functional firms, which means they do not do any operational activities. They are just company, as they have got themselves registered under the Companies Act, but it has not been defined by under any section of the Companies Act. So this becomes incorrect statement. They are often used as channel for money laundering. This is the real reason as to why there has been crackdown on many of the shell companies by SEBI as well as Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So because they are being used as channel for money laundering, the black money is getting converted into white money. So this is also, this is correct. They are essentially private held firms which raise money from informal channels. This is incorrect. They can be public listed also. So recently SEBI had a crackdown on one of the most famous public listed companies because there was a report on it that it was operating like a shell company without doing any operational activities. It was just converting black money into white money. So there were some certain allegations. So it could be public listed company also. So only A is the correct answer. So 93rd question is, consider the following statements about tokenization of financial cards. So all those debit and credit cards. So what is that tokenization? It basically, the debit card or credit cards have 16 digit numbers and also CVV number at the back side. So rather than using those exact number to ensure enhanced security of financial data, RBI has brought in tokenization. So what does it mean? Rather than using this exact 16 digit number, a fictitious 16 digit number is generated for those cards. So if a person is using a card whose financial data is being saved on a particular app, suppose you are using that particular card for Amazon. So rather than punching the exact card details, you could use the token details. Those 16 digits could be a masked, it's a masked number. It masks the original 16 digit number. So this is the idea, it's an additional layer of security to enhance the security features. So it is a technique of replacing original card details with a unique code called token that allows additional degree of protection for digital payments. This is correct. The RBI has imposed a limit on the number of devices on which a card can be tokenized for security reasons. No. RBI does not limit the number of devices on which it can be used for. It can be any number of devices. So this becomes an incorrect statement. So how many of them are correct or which of them is correct? One only. A is the correct answer. So second last question is, with reference to the Indian agriculture, consider the following statements. The buffer norm policy was introduced during the 4th 5-year plan. This is correct. So buffer norm, it started with 5 million tons initially, that the stock should be kept on 1st of Jan every year. There should be a buffer, you can say extra surplus of food grains with Food Corporation or FCI, Food Corporation of India. Currently this buffer norm is 21 million ton. It started with 5 million ton, but it is currently 25 million ton, 21 million ton, that includes wheat and rice. Wheat at 14 million ton and rice at 7 million ton. And the idea behind is that the buffer norms prescribe that it should be sufficient for 3 months of consumption. So 3 months of food grain consumption plus certain kinds of extra surplus, emergency kind of thing, that is incorporated as a part of buffer norm. So this is a correct, factually correct statement. In case of surplus food grains, the Food Corporation of India undertakes an open market sale scheme through the e-auction. This is correct. So when there is excess food grains under the central pool for the Food Corporation of India, suppose they have procured many huge amount of food grains, and there are certain places in India where there is a deficiency of food grains, then the retailers and bulk purchaser of those areas can go for e-auction under the open market sale scheme and purchase the extra food grains from FCI so as to ensure that the price, demand and supply can be managed in those areas. So this is the idea behind the open market sale scheme. The government has proposed to create 700 lakh ton storage capacity in the cooperative sector in the next 5 years. This is correct. So this was a new scheme which was introduced, which is talking about creating a decentralized storage system. Decentralized storage system. So that farmers are not pressurized to go for distress sales. So when they harvest their crops, what they do not have adequate storage capacity. So what they do, they go for distress sales. So whatsoever the prices they realize, they feel that they do not have the buying capacity or bargaining power. If the government comes up with those decentralized, or where the central the storage system could be developed at the places where all the production is being taken up, then farmers can hold on to their produce to wait for the market, so that they can sell their produce at higher prices and they have the bargaining powers rather than giving that bargaining power to middlemen. This is the idea. So this is also correct. So all the statements are correct. C is the correct answer. 95th question is, with reference to the Pradhan Mantri Vishwakarma scheme, consider the following statements. The scheme aims to provide skill upgradation training to artisans engaged in 18 identified family-based traditional trades. This is correct, like masonry, goldsmiths, sculptors. There are many 18 certain traditional occupations. It is being implemented jointly by the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of MSME and Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. This is also correct. So this is a newer scheme for holistic end-to-end, you can say, facility which is being given to promote the traditional artisans of India known as Vishwakarmas. So both the statements are correct. So this was the question which was a mix of, you can say, factual as well as statement based. Apart from that, certain conceptual questions were also asked. So we are starting with the foundation series, foundation class, and it would start with the GS2 foundations. It would be taken up by Ansari sir. It would ensure that all the topics within the GS2, specifically polity, constitution, governance, IR, so all these topics are taken up in a comprehensive manner, and along with that, tests with respect to mains as well as prelims examinations would be taken care of. Apart from that, mentoring would be also given for those students they feel that they want certain one-to-one interactions with faculties, that would also be given. Apart from that, we also have this holistic GS foundation courses on different subjects. Polity would be taken up by Ansari sir. Apart from that, we will have different economy, environment, geography, which would be taken up by Lakshmikant sir, the academic head and faculty for geography and environment. Apart from that, we will also have comprehensive tests to ensure that the program and the test, and you can say the level of preparation, that should be matched up by the questions which are being asked. So this is all about the programs that we are commencing on 13th of May.